What's going on, guys and gals? Welcome to another episode of the Workprints Gamescast, brought to you by theworkprint.com. We're up to what? Episode 58 now. That's insane. I'm being joined by the hardest working man on the internet and producer of the show, my co-host Bilal. What's up, Bilal? Bro, it's I mean, I don't pay you anything. It's insane. I've Bilal has been working on all these scenes and graphics, and you can look actually how clean the Twitch channel looks right now, and this whole overlay with our socials popping in and out. He sends me a text message at what was it, 4:30 in the morning, something like that, the other night, and was like, "Hey, I did your scenes." When I talked to him, was like, "All I need is me in a box and one line underneath that has my socials. I don't need anything else." And then he sends me something like this, and so I mean, listen, I appreciate it, and I couldn't ask for a better producer. Yeah, I mean, we got a packed house. Let's go ahead and get into it. Once again, we're being joined by Race after taking a week off. What's up, Race?
Hello, hello. It's good to be back. The difference in 2 weeks is phenomenal, Bilal. So your hard work is paying off.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the difference in 1 week is phenomenal considering the kind of nightmare we had to start off the live stream last week.
Oh yeah.
And joining us for the first time is Ali. What's up, Ali?
Hey, there's a lag, so it sounds like I'm really slow to respond, but I'm on it. I don't know what's going on. I'm Mac. I already apologize for that. I'm
Nah, don't
glad I could talk about video games.
nah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll be fine. And our, like I said, we've had some technical issues in the past, and our community so far is pretty understanding and forgiving. But at least it's your first time on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? What do you do for a living, and what kind of games are you normally into?
I am a video editor slash photographer slash graphic design slash I'm a freelancer for creative stuff. And I work for a place called Pillars Fund, and they do a bunch of cool stuff. We just announced some stuff with the Riz Ahmed that we're doing. And outside of that, I used to play a lot of RPGs growing up because I had one sister who would not do a single thing involving video games if it had to save her life. So I played RPGs, and I played quite a bit. And I grew up kind of addicted to just playing every single console's RPGs that it had to offer. Then I realized that I only played about 1% of them. So what I have now is a retro pocket, trying to go back through Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1, and maybe some Dreamcast to see what I missed out on and get through retro games because I don't have too many modern games anymore. So I'm just gonna go through in bed and just playing Valkyrie Profile, and that's my move right now.
He says
All right.
this while he owns a PS5.
I mean, if the man's not playing the PS5, the man's not
I
playing
did
the
I did I
PS5.
did get a PS5 on launch day.
Okay. It's
So I did get two PS5s on launch day, but I mean, let's be honest. What is out there that's like really to die for a PlayStation 5, not including June 11th, where I wanted to get both those games, Ratchet and Clank and Guilty Gear Strive, neither RPGs, but pretty dry year so far.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think it's a dry year so far across the board, which
Same.
actually brings us into what we're going to be talking about this week is ending that drought. We had this past weekend a little bit of a gamer holiday in the form of the E3 Electronic Expo. Oh, what is it? Electronic Entertainment Expo, right? That's what the E3
Yeah.
actually stands for. Something along those lines. Happened, and it first off was way too many days long, but also had a ton of news. So normally, those familiar with the podcast, this is the part where we would talk about what we've been playing lately, but we're gonna skip that completely because there's just too much news to cover. There's four of us on the show, and our podcast already run long as is. So we're just going to go ahead and get right into the news. And so what we'll do is we'll break down the bigger conferences. We'll go over everything that was announced, and then we'll also talk about, we'll give our impressions on it and the kind of stuff that we're looking forward to.
but
So,
but I'm really glad we're talking about these conferences because Sony came out and really ended this drought for the PS5, right? Right?
No.
Wah.
Let's go ahead and get into this. So the very first thing that we had and what kind of kicked it all off was Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest live, the opening of it. And this whole Summer Game Fest thing is kind of a mess in my opinion, just because all it is really, at least last year, all it was basically a calendar, right? With, hey, this is when people are doing what they're doing. And I understand the need for it last year when there was no E3. People weren't having in-person conferences, and I mean, they're still not, but it was more sporadic than it is now, right? Now it is back to being kind of this long weekend. That being said, his opening night was one of the better conferences of the show. And so it makes me feel like maybe we just got to get to the point where Jeff Keighley is partnering with E3 because his organizational skills are much needed over there.
I think he should just kill E3 and make Summer Game Fest take over. I think it's just better that way.
Yeah, it seems like it's heading in that direction.
There was a lot of drama around how E3 was done this year because with Twitch being as big as it is and live reaction streams being big, you know, you have outlets covering it, doing a commentary over them, and then E3 comes out and is like, hey, we only have limited spots for official co-streaming. You might get a DMCA, which is already a problem with Twitch and like the music industry, and so just having it for covering a video game event just sounds even more preposterous. So like even Jeff Keighley himself was given a notice like, hey, you could stream this out of your own accord, but just like be cautious, someone might come after you. It's a possibility. So it was just really strange to see all that up front. So if Summer Games Fest is the future, so be it.
Yeah, so one thing, we're not there yet, but one thing I do want to point out, and since you brought up the DMCA stuff, is that Microsoft got ahead of their conference and did say, hey, we did everything in our power to allow the music that's going to be on this broadcast for you guys to have the rights to be able to stream it and have it archived. They did say, however, that they were only able to work it out for a year from this date. So in that sense, if you did see people Twitch streaming, if they have any concerns, they would just want to clear that archived footage after a year. But that's still them going above and beyond was one of the like coolest things, I would say. Like it was the coolest boring thing, right?
Yeah.
Because for those people who do watch Twitch streams and are ingrained in Twitch culture, DMCA is a very real thing that people are trying to figure out how to navigate. I mean, the safest thing to do would be just turn off all archives, right? But the reality is that doesn't make for good content. It doesn't make for good service to fans. And so you see a lot of things where even when there are big in-game events, you'll see some creators go to mute the audio on the event because they're worried about there possibly being music in it and them getting DMCA strikes. So for Microsoft to go above and beyond in that regard was super impressive to me.
Yeah, and I think even Nintendo this morning said, they put out an article going, Kotaku put out an article this morning going, Twitch's official channel won't stream Nintendo's E3 directly to co-streaming restrictions, which is just like, that's the biggest platform in video games. And yeah, like good on Microsoft. Bad on E3, ESA, I think it's the corporation behind it.
Well, and just to clarify that story, Nintendo of Japan had sent out a tweet basically saying, hey, the Nintendo Direct, which was this morning at the time of this recording, you can't mirror the footage. You're not allowed to. If you want to stream your reaction, you can stream your reaction, but our footage can't be there at the same time. You just can't mirror it.
Yeah.
And so they were kind of on the opposite. I mean, they're the ones, saying, hey, if you do, we're going to DMCA you. And so they were the complete opposite spectrum from Microsoft. And actually good on Twitch to be like, hey, we have permission to mirror this footage and to co-stream it. But because all our creators can't, we're not going to. That being said, I did see a bunch of people out there streaming it just being like, I don't care. Let them come for us.
Yeah. Which is the right attitude in this situation.
All right, so let's go ahead, and I'm just going to start going through what was announced at the Summer Games Fest kickoff. And we can kind of play this by ear. I think we could just go one by one, whatever.
Okay.
And then the ones, ones that we don't care as much about, we could just, get through quickly. So one of the first big things that was announced was Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which is a spin-off of the Borderlands franchise. It's still a looter shooter, except it's set in a... Oh, you have the video up right now. You can see it
Yeah.
right here. It's set in a more Dungeons and Dragons fantasy type setting, with the titular Tiny Tina being your dungeon master in this regard. And so, did any of you guys play the DLC for Borderlands 2?
I didn't.
I did not know. Nope.
So I know you're probably left alone
Nope.
on this ship, but that was a D&D related, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I'm gonna get into a little bit of spoilers here for Borderlands 2. But in Borderlands 2, one of the main characters, actually one of the playable characters from the first game, Roland, he dies in Borderlands 2. And the DLC that came out was Attack on Dragon's Keep or something like that. Basically, what the premise was Tiny Tina was hosting a D&D game with the other loot hunters from Borderlands 2. And it also was her way of dealing and coping with the loss of Roland. So it was comedic, but also weirdly sweet at the same time. And so this is kind of just a fleshing out of what that DLC was on a much bigger scale. And they said that they are including some new gameplay mechanics in the form of spell casting. And so not much more was, said or shown off about the game at the kickoff. But as you can see right here, they did announce that it is coming in early 2022, which is a theme for this E3 in regards to the majority of the stuff. And honestly, the conferences that I thought were the best were the ones that had games and they were like coming this year or 2022. I think typically we get a lot of these press conferences, or in the past we would get press conferences, and for E3 we'd be seeing things 3, 4, 5 years out. I mean, games that sometimes we never saw again, right? And it feels like there was a lot less of that this year.
Yeah, but I feel like because of COVID, a lot of stuff got delayed, and then you throw in the cyberpunk element to it, where cyberpunk released when it shouldn't have, and I think it made a lot of studios, put them in a position where they're like, we should take that extra time. Gamers are saying, take all the time you need, and so, I'd rather take that time. Like Microsoft last year, they could have released Halo as a launch title in that window, and Halo would not have recovered. Like it might have, but I think it's better to make a bigger splash initially than have a situation where you're trying to claw your way back up and you've already lost majority of your players. And so if it means games need to wait till 2022, if they need the extra time, then so be it. I think we have a lot of at least maybe US studios and maybe Canadian ones as well that might be returning to office. There might be a new structure. They might be returning to their flows of development by the end of this summer. In the U.S. alone, I don't know how it is over in Jersey or VA, Rob, but like things are really returning back to normal. Like my job's already like July 12th, be back in their hybrid working model. But there is some sort of forward momentum, and I'm thinking E3 2022, whatever that is, whatever that looks like, is going to be the ones for the books. I think we're going to see great games. We're going to see so many games come out, and 2022, 2023 is that time frame where I think it'll be the best time to be a gamer. We get big games, great games, and hopefully non-glitchy games.
All right, moving on. We also got Metal Slug Tactics. So I know people love the tactics strategy games. I have never gotten into one. However, this art style and them taking the Metal Slug franchise and turning it into a tactics game.
That's all I'm waiting for.
Yeah, it's for me, like, this actually got me excited to play one of these. I think the art style is so cool. I think this cinematic trailer is awesome.
I initially thought it was going to be like some type of, and well, it's already kind of like not really a hero shooter, but I think the original Metal Slug, you choose a character, it was a 2D Contra-esque, yeah, side scroller.
Yeah.
But like seeing this in the
Contra-esque.
seeing the Metal Slug Tactics style and how it plays, it really scratches that hole left by Advance Wars. That Nintendo finally, like, they kind of forgot about Advance Wars for years, and people have been asking for something like this. So I'm actually really excited for this one and to play through it.
All right, and then we got Death Stranding Director's Cut. Bilal, you want to talk about this announcement and this whatever it was video that they showed?
Or walking.
God. So Kojima realizes he's the world's biggest troll.
And he's leading fully into it.
100% into it. So it opens up with, what was his name? Norman. It wasn't Norman Reedus in the game. Something Bridges. I'm guessing. Walking into a factory. It has a Metal Gear Solid like layout. There's a box involved and fruit. And instead of like using the box as cover, Sam Bridges, I believe, he sits inside the box and does nothing with it. And then you just get a logo for Death Stranding Director's Cut, which is an even longer game for a game Kojima had full vision on. So I'm not sure what else he needs to add, because from everything I've heard about this game, it's already long and already batshit crazy. So what was cut? And what else is he adding?
Yeah, it's funny. I think I saw someone on Twitter say basically, if this is the first game from your new studio that you were the director on and you had final say over, if that first game wasn't the director's cut, then what was it, right?
Yeah, and like the caption here is, from legendary game creator Hideo Kojima comes a genre-defining experience now expanded and remastered for the PS5. So like, in this definitive director's cut, Kojima, why? I don't know. It's not the director's cut for the game I would have expected. Like,
Think about it. They made the whole studio just to put this game, and then they finished the game, and they're just like, wait, we weren't working on any other game. So they're like, all right, just wrap something else up. Just, I don't know, director's cut. Just do something and just put it out, because we have nothing for another 7 years. That's all they got planned out right now. Like, what's another game under this studio that they're even talking?
I mean, I do think there is a little bit of him being in on the joke by naming it director's cut, and when really it's just a definitive version for the PlayStation 5.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I would love to see that thing running in 4K 60. It is a beautiful game. And I know
there's no running in the game. It's just walking.
It's walking.
Yeah, but if he was gonna do a director's cut, Konami's not gonna work with him on Metal Gear Solid 5.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
There's nothing else he could have done.
Yeah, but I did enjoy his interview with Jeff Keighley during the presentation, where he's like, I predicted the future, so with the next game, I'm trying to go with something more relaxed, because the game is about like a virus that ravages the world, and like everybody's like living like bunkered away. So people, I don't know if they're being serious, but some were like, he's prophetic, and I was like, no, no, he's not.
No. At some point, he was like, I realized I have to take a different approach. The games, they need to be fun. And I'm like, that's what I've been telling people about his games for years, that they need to be fun. Okay, moving on to the next one. This one was kind of weird. We got an appearance from Jeff Goldblum on the broadcast, and he was Jeff Goldbluming all over the place, just hamming it up. And it was for the announcement of Jurassic World Evolution 2, which is that Jurassic World park builder, right? That's
Yeah.
And so I didn't play the first one at all. For the most part, people seem to be, for the people who like those type of games, this is apparently a very good one. And so I'm happy for those who are in on that. I mean, I thought the trailer looked really pretty, but I also, like I said, I'm just not into those type of games.
Yeah. I want to mess around with the Jurassic Park. Park Builder, but I just never got around to the first one, so maybe I'll definitely check out the second one.
Right.
Can you release dinosaurs like onto people? Because that'd be fun.
I would like to believe you could do that. If you could do like tornadoes and disasters in SimCity, you should at least be able to let dinosaurs out.
I mean, I'm sure you have to deal with them breaking out. That's gotta be part of the game. right? But again, I didn't play the first one, so I'm just making assumptions here.
I want a game where you just play the head of public relations for Jurassic Park, and it's just like every day there's like a new incident, and you have to put out a press release and just deal with like keeping things under wraps.
Every week you're releasing, you got to compose a tweet that's just like on a notepad, and it just says at the end like, we understand how grave a situation this was. We just never thought that life would find a way. All right, so let's just push it along, and we got a little bit of a roadmap for Among Us. They announced new updates, new roles for players to fill, and a new map as well. Correct?
The airship's been out. They did tease a new map is in the works. But
Yeah,
that's they really
this
showed like
new mode.
yeah, there's like one little image that they could share from it or something.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like a 3 pixel by 3 pixel image.
Yeah.
So again, I'm really excited for Among Us to actually come to console, just because for me that's where I have the biggest friend base is
Yeah.
on console, and so I've always wanted to play this game and kind of get into it with my buddies, but getting them to even just to download it on their phone where they can get it for for free or sit at a PC, it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
But this is one of those things that they're yelling at each other in a competitive multiplayer game for 2.5 hours, 3 hours. We can switch over to this to end the night and go to bed angry with each other over this stuff. And so I'm just excited for that to be coming. It's supposed to be coming this summer to the Xbox and be part of Game Pass when it launches as well.
Yeah.
So we also got a new gameplay trailer for Solar Ash, which is the follow-up to, oh god, what's the name of the game? Similar art style, a roguelike, or no, Hyper Light Drifter. Sorry. Solar Ash is the follow-up game to Hyper
Oh,
Light Drifter.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, is it
And
really?
you can kind of see the similar aesthetic in the art style and the animations.
And Perna as
Gotcha.
well.
Yeah, I was gonna say it reminded me of that game Fury,
Yeah,
a while back, and I
Yeah.
thought it was a direct like continuation of that, but Hyper Light Drifter makes a lot more sense.
yeah.
But it looks a lot of fun. The gameplay looks
No, I'm
pretty
really,
hefty.
yeah. So I'm really excited about this because I like games that have kind of fluid mobility, right? And so you saw in the trailer we're watching right now, there's that element of kind of grinding on the rail, then hopping on the back and zipping around on the enemy. And so I'm excited for this. Again, there's just so much. I'm sorry. I know I'm not giving some of these games all the time that they deserve, but there's just so much news. We gotta keep it moving. Next thing they did is they showed off a launch trailer for Chivalry 2, which released I think last week on console and PC.
Yeah.
By all accounts, that game, I have a bunch of friends who have it. That game is a fun time, but is a little bit janky. All we got was a launch trailer for it. No new news really out of that one. We also got Valorant teasing a new agent. Anybody here play any Valorant? I played for a little bit, and then once I realized that my son was better at it than I was, I kind of just walked away.
I'm surprised he's not here
Yeah.
to make a comment in the background.
I've been playing it on and off here and there. I probably play like once or twice a week,
Oh,
just a
okay.
couple matches, but nothing too serious. I'm pretty garbage at it.
And it's funny because, I mean, obviously fans of the game are going to be excited for a new character being released, but I don't know. It feels less just because they do release one every season, and the seasons are in Valorant are shorter than like almost any other game out there, or at least it feels shorter. I feel like they're always releasing a new agent. I don't know. I just thought there's not as much hype, and maybe like I said, maybe it's just because I'm not a part of that world. But for me, it feels like there's not as much hype when they announce a new agent. We also got a new trailer from Escape from Tarkov. Anybody play that? That can speak on it.
I've heard crazy things about this game. Like it's very challenging. It's co-op based. I wanted to check it out, but I heard it was still in early access and a bit buggy when it first came out. So I think it's been a few
Yeah.
years, but it's definitely something I think would be make for a fun stream night
I mean,
on the channel.
yeah, I would definitely be down to check this out. I mean, I've seen a
Yeah.
bunch of people stream it, so it does look like it just seems like it has so many mechanics and so complex that it feels almost like impenetrable when I'm looking at it from the outside.
Hmm.
And so,
Yeah, I
but I
tried
mean, this.
downloading it, but I just like couldn't. It wasn't on Steam. I was just so confused, and then I tried registering, and my account was never created. But I've always wanted to play it. It looks really neat. It looks awesome.
Yeah, and so some of the stuff they showed, I thought looked really good. It's also one of those things where I think this trailer looks, the environments that they're showing off and stuff like that look better than anything else I've seen in this game. So I wanted to try out. The next game that we're going to talk about is 2 Point Campus, which is a follow up to the 2 Point Hospital, which again is one of these management sim games.
Yeah, but this time we can control the student loan debt, and we're
Yes.
gonna jack it all the way up.
This one is set, as the name implies, in a college campus that you're kind of running. This game was mentioned at almost every single conference that was held over
Yeah,
E3.
just
I
kept
mean,
showing up.
yeah, by the end of today, I was like, all right, enough with 2 Point Campus. Like, at first, I was like, oh, this seems cool. Maybe I'll dip into it. Maybe I'll give it a try. But it was showing off so much at so many different places. By the end of this weekend, I was just like, I'm done. I want nothing to do with 2 Point Campus.
Did you play 2 Point Hospital?
No, I had always intended to because watched a couple like videos and streams on it and stuff like that. I mean, my problem is that to sit down, people who get into these sim games, like they get into them, right? And so to sit down and dedicate that much time to a solitary experience where there's not a story driving me along, it's just hard for me to kind of get into it, you know?
I always thought these games would be better on mobile. Just because, like, look how big Clash of Clans got, but, like, that has its own monetization and time built-in mechanic. But just, like, a simulator like this where you can build a little town and build it up, I would love to play this on mobile, if it ever came that way. But
Yeah, I was
doesn't
gonna
seem to
say
be the
this.
case.
This seems like something that would thrive on like Apple Arcade on the iPad. I feel like that's somewhere that I would play it, but not on a console by any means.
Uh, so the next announcement was the Smite Stranger Things crossover. So
This
those
is
who
weird.
yeah, so those who are familiar with the
Super weird.
podcast know that I've been playing Smite on and off for the past 8 years. And so this was kind of teased out a little bit before they actually showed off this trailer. And this is the first time that Smite has made a battle pass based on an intellectual property. They did a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one. They did Avatar: The Last Airbender one. This one is by far the weirdest one they've done based on a property, especially considering that they have Hopper as a Hopper skin for Apollo, and I do want to watch this trailer because you're gonna see when they introduce him just how ridiculous he looks. Everybody else kind of fits. Having an
He
11
comes
skin for
in.
Scylla makes sense. Having the Demogorgon skin for Bakasura makes sense. But having Hopper as Apollo is so ridiculous. And so, that being said, I will get this. Like, I am actually kind of excited for this because of how silly and how weird it is. I think more games need to be doing that kind of stuff. If you're gonna do a crossover with an intellectual property, in my opinion, I think the weirder and the more different, the better, right?
Mhm.
Then
think
we got an
these-
announcement that
I
No, go
think
ahead.
these next couple we can do pretty quickly.
Yeah, so we got an announcement that there's a new entry in the classic Painkiller franchise is in development. Nothing more beyond that was shown. A new game from developer Stray Bombay, the Anacrusis, was shown off. It's a 4-player co-op shooter in the similar vein to your
Left 4
Back
Dead.
4 Bloods, Left 4 Deads. And so we actually are getting quite a few of these lately
Right?
and in the near future. I'm all for it. I think I've talked about it here on the podcast before where I am kind of looking for more cooperative games to play with the boys so that we don't get so mad at each other over the competitive stuff. That being said, we'll still find a way to get mad at each other, so it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. But I'm excited for this. I'm excited for these type of games. My problem with this game, and I don't know if any of you guys saw the trailer outside of Bilal, is that there's something about the animations with the guns and how the enemies are affected, where it doesn't feel like there's a lot of impact there. And so, just based off the trailer, and I could be completely wrong, it doesn't look like it feels good to play.
And I can't tell if it's early or not, because the game's still not out yet, and they just threw together a beta. But it does feel a little bit floaty in its animations.
Yeah, but I believe that game is coming this year, is it not?
Well, hopefully they figure it out before
Yeah,
then.
right.
What's next?
The next announcement is Rocket League Fast 9 crossover. So Rocket League has already done a crossover with Fast and the Furious in the past, where they've released some cars that have been in that franchise. I think this might be the third time actually that they've had kind of a tie-in. So I don't know. There's not much to talk about.
I mean, it only makes sense
right?
because they finally attach a rocket to a car in this one.
Yeah, true, right. They didn't have to do a lot to change the character models.
Yeah,
to fit into the game.
this one actually ties into the lore. It all makes sense.
We also found out that we are getting another class-based competitive shooter. This one's set within the Vampire the Masquerade universe called Blood Hunt. I caught I don't know what I was doing during this. Probably looking at my phone, honestly. But this one just didn't grasp me at all. Do you have any interest in this, or I'm also not into this Vampire the Masquerade franchise at all.
It was, I think it was at this point in the press conference that I realized that this was more like the Game Awards than it was what Summer Games Fest was last year. Because Summer Games Fest last year was, hey, here's Tony Hawk, here's the developer talking about it for 5 minutes, and here's a trailer. And that was it for the day. And then you come back like a day or two later for the next announcement. And so I was a bit shocked to see how many games there were. And I didn't realize what the scale and the length of this would be. So I was actually a bit surprised that we got all these announcements. So I never played a Vampire Masquerade game, but I guess it looks cool.
Next thing we got was the Dark Pictures anthology House of Ashes gameplay trailer. I mean, that stuff is in engine. It is gameplay, honestly, because those games are basically choose your own adventure games. But big part about this is they kind of showed off what the monsters are that are going to be in this game. Have any of you guys played any of the Dark Picture anthologies, the two leading up to this one, or even what was it? Oh, Until Dawn, which was the first kind of game in this style that they did.
I did. I played Until Dawn.
Okay,
I haven't played it.
Is Until Dawn part of the PlayStation collection? The PS Plus collection for PS5 owners?
So I don't know. I know it was available on PlayStation Plus maybe a couple times, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it's part of that collection. I'll have to give it a look-see. But for those that don't know, these are basically adventure games where you're just walking through the environment and doing quick-time events and making choices, dialogue choices with different characters. And your choices actually affect the outcome of the story. You control a party during different parts of the story, and there's a possibility that your party members can die permanently. And then at the end of the game, you can end up where everybody's dead or everybody's alive, and good ending, bad ending. So there's replayability in that. Also, these games have multiplayer. So you can actually play with a friend who's controlling one of the characters, kind of parallel, but in a different location as you. There was actually some gameplay mechanics involved with that with the first one, Man of Medan, that they released as part of the Dark Pictures anthology, where that one had to deal a little bit with hallucinations. And so what would happen is one person would see one thing, you'd see another thing, and if you actually were able to communicate a little, you could avoid killing each other, which happened quite often when I played with my friends the first couple times. I really like these games. I'm really excited about this. I think, Bilal, we were talking about possibly streaming this game playthrough together when it comes out.
Yeah, no, I'm actually really excited for House of Ashes. I haven't played the first two, but I did play Until Dawn. And honestly, if your spouse or partner isn't into games, these might be the games to actually sit down and try with them if they like horror. It's usually a ton of fun. Until Dawn had an insane cast of actual actors in it that did full body mocap and their likenesses are in that game. I think they said they were trying to aim to do these like I think one every 6 months or so. I might be wrong with that timing, but I'm glad to see that this is continuing. It's still, it's at its third game, because these are fun experiences to have with friends and family.
Yeah, and it's also something that we're not getting really anywhere else.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing was a new gameplay trailer for the remake of Tales of Arise. I'll let you guys speak to this because this is not in my wheelhouse at all.
I'm a fan of Tales games. I think Tales of Symphonia Race. I think that was like our first intro to it, and like that was one of the best entries to that game. I played some of Vesperia, some of Vesperia. The naming convention is terrible, but this one actually looks great. It feels next gen. It usually plays a lot like an anime. I mean, this one does look like an anime, but there's something about it that feels like it's elevating the series, especially with the combat. The combat here feels like it's not exactly open world, but it feels more three-dimensional. It feels less stiff from what I've seen in the videos. And so this is actually on like my most anticipated list for later this year.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Same here. The combat I remember in Tales of Symphonia and onwards was so fun that like I feel like getting a next gen treatment on this is gonna be great. And the character models look really good for like an anime game that's not throwing the huge tropes in your face.
Yeah.
By tropes, you know what I mean?
And Symphonia was so good. All right.
Yeah, like I said, as somebody who this is in my wheelhouse, I will say that the animation, the art style looks beautiful, and I'm not opposed to giving it a try. Now, next thing we have on here is Planet of Lana was revealed. It's a 2D puzzle platformer following a young child and their cat as they adventure across a strange world. I'm just gonna keep it. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep it moving.
keep going.
Overwatch 2, there was a little video where they talked about some of the changes coming to the sequel and actually introduced kind of the new character models for Baptiste and Sombra. Now, leading up to this, they had talked about a couple in the past. They had talked about some of the changes they're making to some of the character models to just kind of update them and bring them more in line with what we see in games today.
When did Baptiste get released? Was he one of the later characters?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
He's one of the most recent characters, if not the most recent.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, with the upgraded character models and some changes just to their overall looks. And so that's what this video mostly focused on. And I mean, I think they look gorgeous, but they're also just character animation stills against a white background. You know, at the end of the day, what matters is how they look in motion in game.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of hard for me to get excited about.
Yeah, and with everything going on at Blizzard, with the departures, and just general vibe that comes out of the news out of Blizzard. Race laughs because Race worked there. Yeah, it's just what if there's like a beta, if there's a demo, get our hands on, see if it feels any different. I expected to just be more Overwatch, which might not be a bad thing, but I hope it feels fresh.
I mean, I've talked about this before. I'm excited for that change from 6 to 5. I think it'll be easier for me to get 4 of the people together to kind of get into a match, and hopefully that should result in some faster matches as well. The next thing is Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance. So this game launches on June 22nd. What was shown off was a little bit of a gameplay feature where Jeff Keighley played alongside, I think, one of the developers of the game, and then comedian Hannibal Buress and wrestler Ember Moon. This
I'm
is one
excited.
of those games that I am looking forward to.
Yeah.
Right? It's a this is the Diablo-esque one, right? This is top-down.
This
was third person, right?
Third person, yeah.
Okay, all right, yeah. And so so this one I am, but it's dungeon crawler is what really what I meant to say. Is this one I am excited for, and one of the things I didn't realize is that this is one of those games that is coming to Game Pass day and date when it launches. And so this video was fine. The gameplay looked great, and it's funny. Ember Moon especially seemed like she was genuinely enjoying herself. Sometimes we get some of these celebrities on these videos, and it feels forced and stilted. This one felt you know, like just four people hanging out, having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I think she mentioned that she read the books. Like her character she picked was Drist from the, I guess it's the Dungeons and Dragons books. Like I've read those books myself, and they're great. R.A. Salvatore writes combat really well, and weaves epic tale across multiple chronicles. I can't even imagine how many pages of that character I've read and his arc. So it's actually, and she said her wrestling outfit was based off of, the design was based off of that. Forgotten Realms. Thanks, Ollie.
All right.
Yeah.
Next up, we have another IP crossover battle pass. This one for Paladins Champions of the Realm crossover with Genlock, which I didn't know what Genlock was. I had heard it. This is another one of those. This is a Rooster Teeth anime, correct?
With Michael B. Jordan and Maisie Williams.
Right. So, again, we're talking about a battle pass with the crossover with the IP. This is also by the same studio and publisher that does Smite. So this is, I thought it was kind of weird that they kind of spaced them in between these videos instead of just doing kind of a high res section back to back. But there you have it. We gotta figure out how to handle the rest of this stuff.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin. We got a new story trailer.
Yeah, we can talk about that in Nintendo.
Yeah.
Because that one's another one game that shows up everywhere.
Yeah.
And there was Endless Dungeon gameplay trailer. This looks like a lot of fun. This looks cool. Fall Guys is getting a costume inspired by Nier Automata. Back 4 Blood release date announcement.
Okay, this one I think we're gonna spend some time on.
Yeah, so Back 4 Blood, the upcoming co-op zombie shooter and spiritual sequel to Left 4 Dead, launches on October 12th. And the reason one of the reasons it's a spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead is it's actually being made by Turtle Rock, which people who made Left 4 Dead over at Valve left to form this studio. You can see right there in the trailer, it says from the creators up. Again, we were talking about this earlier. We're getting a lot of these kind of co-op horde shooters where you're pushing through, and I am all for it. I mean, if they find a way to differentiate themselves, obviously this one, us already knowing about it, this is the bigger name in the ones that are coming out. This is what all the focus is on right now as far as these type of games are concerned. And so I'm really, really excited about this. They had news about the beta that's coming. I will not be touching the beta because this is definitely a day one for me. And
Come on.
I'm getting this. No,
we gotta get strats down.
No. I am not touching the beta because I know for sure that this is one I'm getting all.
All right, me and Smokey, race you in.
I'm in. I never got to play Left 4 Dead like as much as I wish I did. So I'm super excited for this. I used to play Left 4 Dead alone on my like shitty MacBook and graphics card, and so I'm super excited for this.
There goes the
Yeah,
stream.
let me move it over here. I think Ali messaged me. He has a technician over, so I will be fixing this stuff. Rob, why don't you continue to go through some of this stuff, and I'll pull up trailers.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna quickly go through these, and when it's something big, we'll stop talking about it. And obviously, if there's something you guys want to talk about, just stop me. Tribes of Midgard, they showed off a gameplay trailer. Evil Dead, the game, they showed off the first gameplay trailer for that. This does not look fun.
No.
It seems like it is an asymmetrical multiplayer game, kind of in the same vein as Friday the 13th and Dead by Daylight. But I don't know what it is about the gameplay that they showed off. It just didn't do it for me. Now, I would love to be pleasantly surprised and shocked by it, but that trailer itself just didn't do it for me.
Yeah, the camera angle seems super weird, like in the third person. I remember getting the same vibe. Even though I did like this game, the Evil Within had like a really tight camera angle in the third person, and I like feel like the same vibes here, but the motion felt like super stiff, and it just, I don't know, not doing it for me.
Can I just say one thing about Evil Dead? The hair in this game looks fantastic. Hair doesn't get enough credit sometimes, but like if you look at Bruce Campbell wherever he is in this trailer, like look at that, it's immaculate. I've met Bruce Campbell multiple times, and like it's exactly like that.
Okay, well, looks like Bilal's a fan. Anyway, the biggest news to come out of this opening day was the gameplay footage of Elden Ring, which actually Jeff teased in the very beginning of the broadcast, and that's what ended the show. The game is launching on January 21st, 2022. I am very excited for this.
I am so
I
pumped.
don't know what I'm gonna do. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
I think it looks absolutely fantastic. I think it looks exactly what I'm looking for in these type of games as far as the environment is concerned, the enemy types. These enemies are massive. And
Yeah.
so I am very, very excited. Afterwards, over the next couple of days, there was a couple of interviews. I think IGN had a great interview where they talked a little bit more about the world itself and kind of what to expect without giving, too much away.
Yeah,
And it
Ollie.
does.
Ollie, you might be on mute, so you might need to unmute yourself on Discord. But I think I texted you in the middle of your honeymoon when this trailer dropped. Because I
knew it was dropping. But like, because when you texted me, I was just like, we gotta stop. We just, we were out, we went inside, we went back to our Airbnb, and we just kind of like looked and watched the trailer. And I sent Bilal probably the most emotional voice note of my life, where I wasn't even sure. I didn't even know that I was being recorded. My wife just heard me talk about the trailer, started recording me, and sent it all to Bilal, and so he got to hear everything. But I mean, yeah, I think this was the bombshell trailer of the week, and it was even technically part of E3. It was just the thing that I feel like we're always used to getting, and it was a game that was already announced. So, I mean, like, I came prepared. I came dressed. I'm always going to be a From Software crazy fanatic, and I can't believe how much this delivered on exactly what I didn't really know what to expect. And yeah, I don't think there's any point where From Software is going to disappoint if one after the other. They're just going to keep getting our hopes up and shooting over whatever we thought we were going to expect.
One of the things that has me really excited about it and came out in that IGN interview is that most of these games, I think to a fault for people who are, as far as people who are trying to get into them first for their first time, but also I know that fanatics kind of love, is that the lore is a bit obscure, right? The lore is hidden within a ring you pick up or a note you find that references something from earlier, and then you go on these wild hunts outside of the games to kind of just piece it all together and talk to other people about it and stuff like that. Where this one, because George R. Martin did help with the creation of the world itself and the lore and the story, they did come out and say that the narrative is going to be delivered to you a little bit more straightforward this time. That's not to say that there's not, side lore that you can still find the way you would in other games, but we hopefully are going to get a more cohesive storyline throughout. And so I am very, very excited for that game.
Yeah, and some of the stuff I was reading about it was like there's 6 hubs. You can tackle them in whatever way you want. There's no linear path this time through. A lot of the weapon skills that you saw in earlier Dark Souls games are now like things you can like learn and equip onto your character and just use them, which is awesome. The horse is actually really interesting. It seems like you can summon it and just jump off of it. The horse can double jump and has a rocket launch. It's yeah, so like the rocket launch is right here. There's your character jumping off the horse and the horse disappears. It's crazy. I think the first time I watched it, I wasn't really. I was like, okay, it looks like more From Software, but there's actually a lot more going on behind the scenes, or like if you look at the smaller details. And I'm pumped. I can't wait to get my hands on this. I just need to figure out how much sleep I can not have with the child in order to play this long into the night.
You know how people always will compare a book to a movie, and they'll always just be like, the book was better because there's obviously 800 pages that you could dive into. I feel like that's why these games have all these tiny mysteries and tiny details that everyone kind of obsesses over, because it does feel like when you play the game, you're missing out on the novel. And when you kind of have either a replay or VOD video or somebody else who's kind of walking you through everything, you're just like, wow, there's depth to this that I didn't even realize because everyone is silent and there's not a whole lot of dialogue. But everything is embedded like it is a novel. All the intention and the details and the reasons that everything exists for the design and why you find, a piece of helm or armor here as opposed to a different room, why there are scattered books here and not somewhere else. I think all of that is the reason why there's the fanaticism. Are you not a From Software fanatic?
I mean, I am. I love their stuff, but
You are for sure.
yeah.
I know you are
Yeah,
for
I think
sure. Yeah.
we've all played. Like I've played every single one as well.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I tried to play the first one I ever tried playing was Dark Souls 2. And
Oh,
I just did not like. I mean, I got maybe like 2 or 3 hours in. I just didn't like how some of the lack of direction in it. So
It's easy
I
to get
got to this
lost.
one I got into this one hub and it was just so obtuse and I just couldn't get anywhere. Like it wasn't the combat, it wasn't difficulty, it was literally just figuring out where to go. And so I had kind of written off the Soulsborne genre as a whole, and then I played Bloodborne, and I played it when it first came out, and there was something there that I was like, oh, I like this. I kind of like the aggressive nature of it, but still having to be patient and picking your shots and stuff like that. And the risk reward, right, that comes in Bloodborne, where, if before you lose that health permanently, getting those slashes back in to try to gain it back. And I had dropped it. Then with the PS5 coming out and me having the PlayStation 4 Pro, I was like, you know what? For the last game, just to kind of fill out my, finish up some of my backlog, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna finish Bloodborne and give it another shot. And I fell in love with it. I mean, I absolutely adored it. And it was one of those things where what I ended up doing, just because I knew I wanted to get through it fairly quickly, is while I think that game it does a much better job of directing you and where you have to go, I kept a guide close by just in case. And so that was where they finally got me and got me hooked. Now, I started Sekiro, but then some other games popped up because actually Sekiro had already been out by the time I beat Bloodborne. But because I beat Bloodborne, I was like, I want to play whatever the next one is. Or I want to play another one of these. And so I had started playing that, but then other games come out, so I have to get back to that. I tried playing Dark Souls 3 with one of my wife's cousin's husbands, who, one of my buddies, who is very into, and he's a fanatic for sure. But when he was like, oh, don't come in, I'll come into your world, we'll play together and you can get into it. And then we just kept getting invaded over and over and over by super high level dudes. And it just was not a fun experience. And so part of me wants to just go back and play it by myself offline.
I've never really had that problem in Dark Souls games where I got invaded, and maybe it's because I never used like the embers. Like I would just be in, was like the hollow form as long as possible. But I'm with you. Like it took me a while to get into the series. I bought Demon Souls on the PS3 and returned it the next day. Like I just traded it in. I was like, I don't understand this. This is bullshit. I'm not having any fun with this. And then
I returned it the same day I got it. The first time I ever got Demon Souls, because I went on every website and it was always rated like the #1 game, and I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go get this. And I got it. And I had no idea.
Everyone's like,
and
it's hard, but like it's doable. But they don't really. And back then, like nothing was this difficult. Unless you're talking about
this
like
shit is stupid.
Yeah, it is.
And then
it was with Dark Souls.
Then I figured it out.
Yeah, it was with Dark Souls 3 where everything finally clicked. Because I didn't even know you could upgrade.
Oh, wow.
The first time I played Bloodborne, I didn't even know you could how to upgrade your health and stuff like that. And so it took me forever. I was like, once I watched the video, once it all clicked, I was like, oh, okay, this is how I get stronger.
I started with Dark Souls 1. I didn't really love the PS3 Xbox 360 era.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like everything felt really plastic, pushing the graphics beyond what they could do, and then everyone just gave up on art direction. And I moved to St. Louis for a year and a half for grad school. So the first week I was there, I just brought my 360 and I got a TV and I kept hearing about Dark Souls on Reddit, and I was just like, man, let me give it a shot. And that's all I had. I didn't even have furniture. I just had like a TV. It was just like dark and glowing. I was waiting another week for my roommate to move in. I didn't really know anybody, so I was, aimless walking around Dark Souls, the first game, and it felt like what we used to want in a lot of these games, where it wasn't an hour and a half of tutorial or a 90-minute cutscene at the end of the game to reward you.
Mm-hmm.
It was a straight up, here you go, figure it out, and very, very much just enjoy the experience and not, we're not going to hold your hand otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that kind of reinvigorated a lot of me wanting to play video games again, because I don't really think the 360 area was all that good at all. And I think the PS4 area, I went from 360 to PS4. PS4 was good, but I think there was like 10 years where they're just like you can pretty much just skip the entire video game history, except for Dark Souls and like 5 of the games.
I think you're crazy, Ellie. There's a lot of good gems in that period.
I think you're nuts, but we don't have 8 hours for me to give you a TED talk on why you're wrong on the records.
All right.
All right.
I dare you to.
So just to move on, IGN had its own conference, the IGN Expo. There was a couple announcements for AAA games, a lot of indie stuff. The things that stand out from here is Doki Doki Literature Club Plus, which is which is an enhanced version of the psychological thriller Doki Doki Literature Club that is coming to Steam and it's coming to consoles. I don't know how that game, without giving any spoilers, I don't know how that game is going to work on console. But
Yeah.
if you get the chance, I think it's free still on PC, on Steam. Play the original Doki Doki Literature Club. Don't look at anything about it beforehand. Go and play it, and just wait until it takes its turn, because it starts off as one thing and ends up as one of the. I mean, they say it's the trailer right here says the #1 psychological thriller. It turns into something just completely different and is one of my favorite game experiences ever, honestly. Don't let the art style and kind of the fan service waifu look to it, you know, trick you. There's a lot more to it than that.
You're talking to three weebs.
The other thing I want to talk about, what was it?
Tunic?
Yeah, so they talked about Tunic for a little. I actually played some of that. If you have an Xbox right now, they're having their Summer Games Fest demo event. You can actually go ahead and play that demo on there. So instead of me talking about it, you can try it for yourself. This game was built to me as a Zelda-like, and this is a Souls-like this disguise as a Zelda-like. Okay, this game is much more difficult than I thought it was gonna be.
He
And
died so many times.
The combat is way more deliberate than I expected, and so it is very, very cool though, and I am intrigued and can't wait for this to come out. And in case you were wondering, yes, Two Point Campus was the IGN Expo conference they had. All right, so I'm just gonna rapid fire through the Ubisoft conference, which I actually think was one of the better conferences, and then we can just talk about afterwards what we're most excited about. There was the gameplay trailer for Rainbow Six Extraction, now the official name for what was Rainbow Six Quarantine, which is just an expansion of the idea they had in a limited time mode for Rainbow Six. There is Rocksmith Plus, which is a new iteration on the Rocksmith franchise, teaching people how to play guitar and bass. There's Riders Republic, which is the massive multiplayer sports game announced 2 years ago by Ubisoft. That is coming out September 2nd. Rainbow Six Siege, they showed off a cinematic trailer for the new operator that's coming. They also mentioned that crossplay will be implemented between PlayStation and Xbox in early 2022.
And cross progression as well.
And cross progression.
I don't think at the same time, but soon after or within the same time frame.
There was also the announcement that Brawlhalla is getting the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So Brawlhalla is one of those franchises that is flying super under the radar. It is your platform fighter like Super Smash Brothers. and they have brought in a bunch of different properties. It started off with them bringing in characters from their own franchises, Ubisoft's own franchises, and then they started to branch out. I mean, they've had WWE wrestlers come into Brawlhalla. Now they've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the art style looks awesome. And so this is a game that I would be more than happy to play on stream with you guys if you guys ever wanted to, and hang out for a little bit. Like I said, it's just a platform fighter like Smash Brothers.
Was this the game that you had me and Jen play with you and you used the fight stick?
Yes, and I destroyed.
Like, there was no reason to use a fight stick, yet he did.
It feels so much better with a fight stick. Anyway, it feels like you're playing an arcade game. Anyway, there's a new expansion for Watch Dogs Legion starring Aiden Pierce. It's called Bloodline. We also got, surprise, surprise, Just Dance 2022. The game that comes out every year on every platform is coming out again.
It's not coming out on the Wii this time.
No, right.
Yeah, the Wii support finally has ended for Just Dance.
They showed off a little bit of Assassin's Creed Valhalla and some of the future updates coming for it, including new game modes and some fan-requested additions. They also talked a little bit about Mythic Quest and Werewolves Within, so they talked about their TV and movie properties. And then they showed off a new trailer for Far Cry 6. A lot of it being some of the stuff we already knew about, but this is where they showed off kind of it was like a tone trailer for the villain.
That was Meet
itself.
the Villain, yeah.
Yeah, and it was it got pretty dark in this trailer. And so I was already pretty excited about this. I think the game itself looks beautiful, and so I'm excited to play this. And we're gonna have that fairly soon.
It reminds me, it's like Far Cry meets Just Cause, and that's like the vibe I'm getting out of this.
Yeah.
I mean, and truth be told, Far Cry had been leaning like that in the past couple games. I mean, they introduced wingsuits. The last Far Cry, we would take a helicopter as high as we could, and I would just jump out wingsuit everywhere. And so,
have they announced co-op for this?
I don't know actually. Yeah. I mean, honestly, the co-op in the past games was kind of thin anyway, and so I was actually hoping that they would have something more substantial in the form of co-op, where progression between your two game states would continue. Right? If you played it with somebody else, those missions would be done in your game, and that's not how it worked in the last ones. Yeah. They also announced some of the Far Cry 6 DLC that we can expect, and there is a DLC that allows us to play as Far Cry villains from the past, Voss, Pagan Min, and Joseph Seed from Far Cry 5. And they also teased something that's to do with Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, which I adored Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. And actually, I think Ubisoft should put Blood Dragon on more things. They did like a Trials Blood Dragon, and that was a lot of fun. And so they also showed off.
Also announced that Netflix geeked that Blood Dragon's getting its own animated series on Netflix.
Yes, they did. They did show that. And so we also found out about the sequel to the Nintendo Ubisoft crossover Mario and Rabbids. This one called Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Again, it looks like another turn-based strategy game. This time they seem to have added some more active gameplay mechanics, and so I am actually pretty excited about this one.
Yeah, this was a nice surprise, though. I feel sad that Nintendo had to spoil it themselves.
Right.
They accidentally put up the product page for this on their website a few hours before the show, but it looks great. I think the free roam aspect of the action, it'll be interesting to see. They really did nail that first game. It did get a little bit repetitive, but this one looks absolutely gorgeous. And I can't wait to see. I actually can't wait to get my hands on this. So and this was
also just generally just like a hilarious game.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't think that the rabbits would make me laugh at all. Once they showed the first trailer of the first Mario and Rabbids, but that had me dying. So I'm super excited for this one.
In an alternate universe, the Rabbids are what the minions are.
So it's funny because I was actually going to make a comment about that. Is that I was watching, I think it was Giant Bomb's actually, their live reacts to the Ubisoft conference, and it was Daniel Dwyer who was basically like, "Why do I like the Rabbids so much when I hate the minions so much?" Right? They're just better minions, is what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
And then
But like they turned the Lumas from Mario Galaxy into Rabbids, which is just like it's such a stupid idea, and it works.
yeah, no, I think it looks great. And there's also some talk about how the gameplay that they showed off actually looks kind of too nice graphically, fidelity wise, to be running on the Switch. So there were some rumors that actually that what they were showing is running on this Switch Pro. I mean, like I said, I don't know about all that, but
Yeah.
I thought it looked very, very good. And that's all I should say. It looked very, very good.
I believe it's on a new engine. Plus, they've had more time to develop this. So I figure they can make it look pretty. I mean, Odyssey looks absolutely gorgeous on handheld and on docked. So I don't expect. I could see this running on a regular Switch.
And the last thing they showed off was Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, a third-person adventure game that looks like you'll be playing from the perspective of the Na'vi. And so...
What year is it?
Yeah, they're 11 years late.
Or are they 2 years early?
Just in time.
Yeah, we're getting like 8 movies coming soon. And so...
Before the rapid fire of Avatar movies.
Yeah, every 2 years starting next year, I think.
All right, so real quick, that is everything that was at the Ubisoft conference. Why don't we just go around? What are you most excited for, and was the biggest surprise out of this?
I think
for you, Bilal?
For me, Avatar. I wasn't sure what they were gonna end the show on, but this game looks good. This is a beautiful looking game. I don't know what story they will tell. It's probably something that repeats the original Avatar storyline, given like the humans are there and the military is attacking the Na'vi. But this looks cool. I'm actually really interested in seeing what they can do with this property.
Grace, what about you? What are you most excited for? What was the biggest surprise?
It's not my most anticipated or like the most excited one, but I saw a hilarious tweet at the Avatar one of someone saying like, I really wonder how they're gonna connect the adaptive controller and the haptic feedback when the Navi like connects to an animal. And I like am kind of weirded out to know what that's gonna feel like in my hands. But oddly enough, like the one that I'm really excited for is Riders Republic. I love like extreme sports games.
Did you skip over this, Rob?
No. I had mentioned it.
He went over it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is one that I'm like super excited for. I've loved extreme sports games growing up my entire life, like any Tony Hawk and like SSX, Steep, Skate is like probably my most played video game of all time. Fun fact, I was like top 5 in Skate 1 in the world at one point in my life, which is, I don't know if that's sad or impressive, but
that's impressive. In this house, it's impressive.
Yeah, hell yeah. So I'm super excited for this. Like, there's so much crazy stuff in this game. Like, some of it reminds me of Trials, some of it reminds me of Steep, some of it reminds me of like Skate. It's like Red Bull the video game, and I fully expect to be like cracked out on energy drinks playing this game with a few people. So I'm super excited for this. I think it'll be a blast.
Ali said he has hammers and stuff going off in his apartment right now, but he did say this is what he imagined Fall Guys to be, or aim to be, in the past. And like, yeah, it looks cool. We've gotten stuff like Steep in the past from Ubisoft, and like just seeing them take everything they've kind of done and put it into one thing. It seems cool because I don't think we've had too many of these type of games anymore. And if it's a giant playground just to goof off and have fun with friends, I'm down.
Okay. And actually, real quick, because you did the whole Ubisoft thing, right? Let's just put this to bed because I'm sick and tired of this. Okay, it is Ubisoft. The company was originally called Ubiquitous Software. Okay, it is Ubisoft. And to prove my point, on all of their trailers, you'll see they have the tag that under the title it says a Ubisoft original, not an Ubisoft original, because U has a hard Y sound. That's why it's a Ubisoft original. Okay.
Yeah.
Done your homework.
Yeah. Look at this, Mr. English teacher.
Oh,
How do you pronounce GIF or GIF?
No, it's GIF. I don't care what that guy says. He's wrong. Okay. No, it's funny. Honestly, Ubisoft's conference and their presentation wasn't the flashiest. It was a lot of games that were already announced and things we already knew about. But top to bottom, it was really solid. So
Yeah.
I'm anticipating so much from them, and they continue to be one of my favorite publishers, that I don't even know what my most anticipated is out of this. But this by far was the biggest surprise. Like
Yeah.
everything, and granted, they're showing a lot of different sports here, and whether or not all of these disciplines actually handle well and are fun will are yet to be seen. But the snowboarding in particular, you talk about steep. I remember I fell in love with Amped on the original
Yeah.
Xbox.
Oh
That
yeah.
was the one I used to play all the time. And
SSX on PlayStation, like
yeah, and so I love those games. And the snowboarding in this looked like it had that right mix of being a little bit silly and over the top and just being fun. And
Yeah.
so I am very, very excited for this and very, very surprised by this. This sold me 100% to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, this is a day one. And considering how well
Same.
Ubisoft supports their games,
Yeah.
like this does seem like something that could end up being massive for them.
Yeah, and like speaking of support, like I don't want to pivot away from this too much, but like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, a game that already takes over 100 hours to complete, is getting a second year worth of DLC support, and it just released one expansion, and the second one's coming later this year. Their ongoing support when games should have died is, I think, for me, a reason to stick with it. Like, I think there was, even before E3, they announced, like, additional DLC coming to The Crew 2. And I don't know anybody that plays The Crew 2. But, like...
I thought they shut the servers down.
yeah, they stick with their guns, and they continue to support it. So... I think Ali just texted me saying this is the Pilot Wings MMO RPG that we've all been asking for.
Yeah, no, 110%. Like, it's also one of those things where I'm just so curious about how this is all gonna work.
Yeah.
Because it looks like this is almost like a live service game, right? Where it is this shared world. That's the word I'm looking for. It is a shared world. And so, like, how are these servers going to hold up? How many people are going to be in it? Is it one of those things where, kind of like the way Forza does it, where people are driving through, but it's not until you start an actual race that people are loading in together on one server? Like, I'm curious, just from a technical standpoint, how this is going to work and how it's going to run. And I'm curious to see what the gameplay mechanics are going to be. It's got to be one of those things where none of them can feel samey, right? They all have to feel unique, but they all have to be fun. And so I think it's a massive endeavor and something that might not pan out, but if it does, I mean, it just seems like exactly what I could go for right now.
Yeah, 100%. And then just like, I think the last thing I want to quickly touch upon for Ubisoft was Extraction, because we did mention that there's a lot of these like Back for Blood. I think what was the other one? Anacurus, shown at
Anacrosis.
Anacrosis. Yeah, it's a lot of these co-op monster shooters. This one's with aliens in this case, but the cool thing I think I like here is it's taking like the tech from Siege and adapting it to aliens and like how do you deal with them. And so I'm excited for that angle of all this.
Yeah, so what differentiates this from all those other ones is that those other ones are, for the most part, running, gunning, learning how to handle and deal with a horde. Where this, you can see them checking the corners. This is still Rainbow Six Siege, right?
Yeah.
It's still that universe. And so it is more tactical, and they showed off a gameplay Emma where there's a chance that one of you guys could get got, right?
Yeah.
And if you lose that operator and access to that operator till you go back in with somebody else and rescue them. So I think that is very cool. It also sets up, I think, some fun scenarios where I think friends are going to be very mad at other friends and say that they left them behind, essentially, and guilting them into playing one more so they can get their guy back. And so I'm looking forward to seeing just kind of the dynamics and how this actually plays out. And I still play Rainbow Six Siege to this day and talk about games that they support. And being able to play with that engine, with those kind of controls and those kind of tactics, but just in a different setting, is exciting. I'm excited for that. And so, and then if Ali wants to send you a message on what he's most excited for out of all these games.
It was Riders Republic.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And he
And
said you were
then-
right on both when it came to the Ubisoft discussion.
See?
Yeah.
Listen, Bilal's out, Ali's in. I like that he backs me up and he lets me talk. So, all right. So quickly, I'm gonna go over Devolver Digital. So Devolver Digital, I actually missed this one. I mean, I followed up on the news, but I missed actually watching the conference. It seems like once again they had one of the better produced and one of the funnier conferences. They have found this sweet spot where they do not take themselves serious at all, while still showing off games that would fly under the radar normally. And so they showed off some Shadow Warrior 3 gameplay. Trek to Yomi. They had a 2D action game set in feudal Japan. Looks to take the samurai ways of Ghost of Tsushima and remove the third dimension. And then Phantom Abyss, which is an upcoming asynchronous action game. And that game launches on June 22nd into early access. Wizard with a Gun was revealed. And it looks like that's an isometric action game. Again, that one also looks like you're taking on hordes of enemies. And
Yeah.
there's Death's Door.
This one I want to spend some time about right after.
Okay, why don't you
Yeah.
go ahead? No, why don't you go ahead and talk about it right now? Actually, while
All
I
right.
go get some water.
So yeah, this one is. I saw a glimpse of this. I had a stream on in the background, and it just caught my eye really quick. You play this little. I don't even know what he is. Guy with a sight, but the action, the combat in this, I think it said it was inspired by Zelda, but it seems a lot faster.
Seems
than
like
Zelda.
Hades.
Yeah, it seems,
like-
reminds me a lot of Hades, and it just the style of it looks cool, the art, and yeah, like you got that umbrella find, which is kind of like finding an item in Zelda, but it just has this really cool look and feel that just grabbed me from the get go. And I don't know, it just speaks to me at a level that's like I want to play this game as soon as possible, and it comes out July 20th on Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, the One, and PC. So I'm not sure if this is a Game Pass title, but very
It's funny 'cause
excited.
The art style almost reminds me like if you were doing a what's it called? Mystery Falls. That's the name of that show, right?
Oh, Gravity Falls.
Gravity
Gravity
Falls.
Falls. Thank you.
Yes.
Gravity Falls. Yes.
I love Gravity Falls.
And so like the art style kind of reminds me of that, and it looks very cool. I mean, I think we come on here and we talk often about when we're talking about the games we were playing, we're talking about the big titles we've been playing and stuff like that. But the reality is, I play a ton of these type of games as well. And I mean, even yesterday when I was doing the stream, that's what I was mostly playing were these type of smaller indie games, because that's what the demo event is about. And so I like that Devolver does hit on this presentation and give the time to these games that, like I said, might not get the attention they deserve at some of the bigger press conferences. And then there was also Inscription, which appears to be a deck building adventure game.
This is Ali. Can you come on, Mike? Because this is all you.
No, he's
Can't.
all
Yeah.
right.
The worst time.
Hammering away.
Yeah, the worst time for hammers to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
and-
deck building. He said the two for him out of this was Death's Door and Inscription. And if it has deck building, in the genre, title, then he's 100% in with it.
So here's the funny thing about me. I love deck building games, and I play them all for exactly 4 hours and then fall off. But I play
Exactly.
all of them. Like, I don't know what it is why I just can't see them through. But I'm definitely gonna check that out. They also showed off Devolver Tumble Time, which is a mobile puzzle game. It's gonna be free to play and will launch in this year for iOS and Android. Demon Throttle, which is a throwback to arcade bullet hell shooters. And was that the last one? Oh, and this game will be exclusive to the Nintendo Switch. The other thing is, the cool thing about this, besides the fact that can you play the trailer on this one, Demon Throttle?
Yeah, let
Is
me.
I
well,
like these I like these bullet hell games. And Returnal is the game most recently that kind of scratched that itch a little bit, and just playing that made me want to find something else kind of in this genre. What's interesting about this one is that they are not releasing this digitally. They are just going with a physical
Yeah, I
release
saw
for
that.
this.
What's the deal with that?
I mean, it's, in my opinion, I think it's just a headline and marketing
Yeah.
stunt to be like, look, we're so old school that we're only releasing on cartridge. That being said, I think it's cool, and I'm probably going to buy it just because of that.
This
And
reminds me of like a Game Boy Color game, like for the Final
Yeah.
Fantasy Legends games of old. Yeah, this looks real cool.
yeah. And so that was everything announced at Devolver. Um,
Where are we going
mean,
next?
I
The
think we
big
go.
show.
Yeah, this one. Oh, this one's so brutal. This one's brutal not only because, and look, it's no secret that I play most of my stuff on Xbox, and I have since the original Xbox. Honestly, now I own a PS5, I own a Switch, and I like to think I play everything. But if you were like, if I had to pick a side, pick a team, right? I'm an Xbox guy. You know, and so this was the one where the one press conference I was most excited for. I did not know necessarily what to expect, and actually was very surprised in what we ended up getting. They came out right away and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna show you 30 games, and 27 of those games are gonna be available on Game Pass,"
Day one.
which is
Yeah.
absolutely insane. Before we even go through these, think about that for a second, right? Even if somehow you saw 30 games and didn't see something that like screamed to you that as being your thing, with Game Pass you could try these games out and maybe find a new thing. And that's the thing that kept going through my head, is that, and I think it's smart because it also colors the way you look at all of this stuff, right? When you're seeing some of these other press conferences, if something seems interesting but doesn't grab you right away, you tend to just brush it off and ignore it. Where in this, almost every single one, especially every single one that was coming to Game Pass, I was like, you know what, I'll give that a shot, because why not? You know? And so as a whole, I think it made everything feel stronger, the whole conference as a whole stronger. I'm going to go through this as quickly as I can, and we'll stop and talk about some for sure. So Starfield, the big news out of this is, first off, they showed it off. They showed off that it is going to be an Xbox exclusive.
Which they said like 20 times.
Yes, right.
They're just like exclusive, console exclusive.
Yep. And so they showed off kind of a little teaser, an official teaser trailer is what they showed off, and it kind of showed you the vibe of the game. There was some videos that they released like the next day, I believe it was, yesterday on Monday, kind of showing off a little bit more of the world and the environment. Here we only get a little snippet of what the environment looks like, and part of it looks a bit barren or out in space, but the video they showed the next day showed different environments, lush environments, more colors at play, and it very much is going to be a Western RPG, the type that you expect out of Bethesda. And it seems like they're also going to do regular updates and regular videos kind of showing off the world and introducing players to that. The big thing to come out of it for me was that the game is launching November 11th, 2022. Now, there was some talk about when this game would be released. I know some people were hoping that some big surprise announcement, it being this year. I figured there was no chance, even though Bethesda has done that in the past. I figured with something like this, a new IP where people don't know what to expect, that they would give this some time to breathe.
It had as much of a chance coming out this year as God of War did.
Yeah.
Well, the difference being is they said God of War was coming this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is bonkers.
But
yeah, this art looks fantastic, by the way.
Oh yeah, see, yeah, you brought up the video just to kind of see what I was talking about, what they showed off, and part of me kind of wishes, I understand they only had 90 minutes and they had a ton of things they were showing off, but I kind of wish we got a little bit of this during that, because while I was very hyped about what they showed off and very excited to find out that it's coming out, November of next year, I thought this looked so much better than the stuff
Yeah.
they're showing now, and puts it more in line with what I'm looking for.
And
Yeah,
you-
just even those shots of the terrains, like the different types of terrains, like blue. Just I haven't seen this video, so that itself like got me a lot more interested than the teaser did.
yeah,
Um,
I forgot what the quote was, but I think they said it's like you're kind of like a Han Solo in space, but the story is also one about hope. So it's
Yes.
not like Fallout where it's just like you're just trying to survive and be an asshole to everybody just to get by.
Yeah.
But like all these shots, like me and my wife just got done watching For All Mankind on Apple TV Plus, which is like the alternate history of like if Russia beat U.S. to the moon and what that would have done to the moon race, and like how the world reacts to building out to the moon and going to Mars, things like that. And so it's just like a lot of the visuals, a lot of like the concepts from the trailers, the art are that, and I love that show. I'm super excited for this, just based off of what I'm seeing. So I hope it knocks it out of the park. And they're creating this using a new engine as well. So
yeah.
hopefully Starfield is great. It doesn't have that Fallout issue of all those bugs.
Yeah, all the bugs. Yeah.
Oof,
and
God,
then
yeah.
and then that means even if it does have some bugs, Elder Scrolls 6 will benefit from that because it'll
Yep.
likely use the same engine.
Yep.
I also just want to say like the inner designer in me was freaking out, but the logo on this game is phenomenal.
Oh yeah. No.
If that's all we get, great.
Yeah.
Great logo.
Yeah, there you go. There's that logo
Alright.
right there.
The next thing they showed off was Stalker 2: Heart of Chernobyl. They went with a little bit of a longer gameplay trailer, kind of showing off what we can expect from the game's narrative, and the tone of the game itself. This game reminds me a lot of what's that other
Metro.
Metro. Yes,
Metro.
reminds me a lot of Metro. I actually thought it was really cool that the entire trailer was in Russian with English subtitles underneath. Again, this is one of those games launching into Game Pass. I didn't quite get into the Metro series. I think the enemy types in this are super interesting looking, and I like the idea of these anomalies and have to throw the ball to kind of detect where it is and stuff is kind of cool. And if it can keep kind of a tense, almost horror like tone in how tense it is, I think this could be very much up my alley.
Yeah, and I think the facial work that was done in this trailer, like it's high quality. I'll show some of this off because I think it does deserve some work here. Yeah, and I thought like the gameplay aspect of like there's these anomalies out in the world, and you're just throwing these like bolts to see where to walk, so you don't like kill yourself. I'm
Combust?
guessing.
Yeah,
Yeah, combust. So it's actually like it looks pretty neat. And I believe this is Game Pass day one.
Yes, it is. Yep.
So yeah.
They showed off more Back for Blood. Again, that launches October 12th. The trailer also talked about the Human vs. Zombies competitive mode. I kind of expected that we would get a mode like this because Left 4 Dead 2 had a mode like this as well. And so that wasn't too big of a surprise for me. It was great seeing more of the game. Then this one I found interesting. So it looks like Avalanche is going to be publishing an Xbox exclusive, developing an Xbox exclusive called Contraband. We don't get much about it in this.
Outside the
But-
fact that it's a co-op smuggler's paradise set in the fictional world of 1970s Bayonne. I'm not sure where that is.
So again, I think it looks like it could be cool, but there's just not a lot on to go from here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't get anything from the trailer.
Yeah, I was like, this kind of reminds me of Uncharted-esque, like.
Yes, agreed. That was the vibe I was getting.
Yeah.
Or
Like I could see Nathan Drake in this room planning it out with
Yeah.
Sully. But I mean, outside of it being a smuggler's paradise, open world, and co-op, there's not much more going on here. So it's kind of hard to get excited. But it's cool to see that Avalanche is working on something.
yeah, on an open world for
And
world
then-
game for
and a
Xbox,
new
which
IP.
is,
Yeah.
which is a genre that they are kind of lacking right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the next announcement was Sea of Thieves: A Pirate's Life, a little crossover with Pirates of the Caribbean. We saw some Jack Sparrow in this. Sea of Thieves is one of those things where when it first came out, I thought it was a very cool concept and good bones, but it just wasn't the content. And then about 6 months ago or something like that, maybe a little bit more, sometime during this pandemic, I got pulled back into it because my friends started getting into it, and as long as they're driving the ship, right? As long as they're deciding and kind of showing me where the content is and stuff like that, there is so much more to do in this game. This game is so much fun now versus what it launched as. So this is one of those things where I saw this, and while I'm not the biggest Pirates of the Caribbean fan, for me it was like, hey, new content, some new kind of activities to do and stuff like that. I'd be more than happy to hop back into that.
If I could just get the Pirates of the Caribbean theme in this game, I'll come back.
Yeah, if you can play it with the instruments.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, that'd be great. Entire Yakuza franchise is now available on Xbox Game Pass with the addition of Yakuza Like a Dragon. Bilal has talked on this podcast many times about how good that game
Play
is.
Like a Dragon, play Zero.
Yes.
Yeah, you start either with Yakuza 0 or Yakuza Like a Dragon. Can't go wrong with either one as a starting point. Fantastic games.
There was a new gameplay trailer for Battlefield 2042.
Okay.
That showed off kind of the combat.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
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 It's insane. Listen,
Yeah.
and again, this is like a directed gameplay trailer.
Yeah.
Right? So our experiences, don't get me wrong, I'm going to try to do some of that stuff, but our experiences aren't going to be quite the same. My only problem with, I really like, I mentioned I had, last podcast, I was having someone come over to watch it with me in person. I turned to him and I was talking to him, and the one thing that bothers me about Battlefield as a whole is because the gameplay, and they talked about how, the main mode in this game, the main multiplayer mode in this game, is going to be 128 players, so a 64 on 64.
Yeah.
Where in the past it was just 64, and this game always looks fantastic. The audio design is some of the best in the industry. I mean, it's really not even close, for the most part when you're talking about these shooters. Call of Duty's audio design has nothing on Battlefield. And yet, because the player base is so large, it then kind of feels like what you're doing doesn't matter.
Mhm.
And I think that's my one problem. Now, if what I'm doing looks like this, and I can have these cool personal moments that I could take clips from and, put on my social medias or stream out when we're streaming and stuff like that, like, it made me very, very excited. And as always, the game looked great. And so, now the one thing, did they say whether or not this is launching into Game Pass, isn't it? As part of Game Pass Ultimate. I know it's an EA property, but it being multiplayer only, I thought I had saw that it was coming to Game Pass. Maybe
I might have missed that, but I'll double check that if you want to move on.
That's right. Yeah, we'll keep it going. The next thing is they showed off a little bit more gameplay for 12 minutes. This is something that had been announced, what was it, last year, 2 years ago?
I don't know, it's been in the works for quite a long
In a while
time.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, again, it kind of just showed more of what we were already expecting.
I know.
And what we already knew about. And so, I'm still very, very excited for it.
Yeah,
but not too much new.
Well, we got a launch date for it finally because
August, right?
It's in August, and it's about a man stuck in a 12-minute time loop, and it stars Willem Dafoe, James McAvoy, and Daisy Ridley. Like
Stacked cast.
Stacked cast. So I'm hoping it's good if they were able to wrangle all of those.
I mean, we were talking about how stupidly long the runs in were, so like having a game, I assume a run is 12 minutes is going to be really fun, and like the replayable factor of it hopefully is great. It seems really cool. Like if it stays like this top-down kind of view, and like the narrative is strong.
Yeah.
Like I'm just curious on like how many different things can happen in this 12 minutes, and like if you really have control over it. So the potential is there. I'm super excited for this one too.
Yep.
Yeah. No, 100%. We got an official date for Psychonauts 2. That's launching on August 25th, and they showed a little bit more gameplay off in their trailer. This game looks great. I mean, I'm actually playing through the original one now because I never played it back when it launched. and I'm having a good time. I think the characters are awesome. I think the writing is pretty funny. I do think that obviously I'm playing an Xbox game, and so some of the controls are a little bit dated, but to play an updated version of it, I'm very much looking forward to it. It's also one of those things where, I'm playing Ratchet and Clank right now on the PS5, and this kind of action platformer, this mascot platformer, I would love to see the return of these in a big way. If we can get good quality ones coming on a fairly regular basis, I would love nothing more than for this game to come out, be fantastic, and us having another franchise that we can see every couple of years.
Do you think playing the first one is a must for 2? I know it's kind of hard to say without.
Right. It seems like what they showed off in this trailer that. You know what? I'm going to say no. Right?
Okay.
Because there's already parts of it where they're showing off characters, and you have to imagine that they're just going to recap everything in the beginning. It's been too long since the first one came out that I don't think it'll be necessary, especially since they are taking it to a different location.
Yeah.
Ali goes, "You're wrong." I think he disagrees with you. So
about having to play the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I have faith that they'll catch everybody up to speed.
Yeah.
That being said, you should play the first one. I'm having a good time. It's on Game Pass. No reason not to play it.
He says you'll miss 800 inside jokes, setting, world building, etc.
Okay, so that I
Yeah.
do agree with, is that you are gonna miss inside jokes. Like I said, this franchise is based on humor. It has a Double Fine humor, and so he is right about that. Bethesda games coming to Game Pass, just filling out that catalog now that they are under the umbrella of Microsoft, and we're gonna see Doom Eternal hop in there to Game Pass this fall. They showed off Fallout 76 Steel Rain. I'm not a huge Fallout fan. I'm definitely not a Fallout 76 fan, so this did nothing for me. They showed off they showed off Elder Scrolls Online getting updated for the Series X and S. They showed off Party Animals, which is very much like a Gang Beasts type game. It looked like.
I thought it was Gang Beasts for the longest time, which was weird not to see it be the case. I don't know what's up with all the fluffy animals fighting each other after Super Animal Royale. Now we got Party Animals.
Hey, listen, I'm all for it. The more silly party games, the better, in my opinion. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of where we are, where the industry is as far as video games is concerned, is there really is something for everyone these days, Yeah. And so something like this, again, it's one of those things, especially coming into Game Pass, it's one of those things where, like, we could just play it on a whim, and we might find our next favorite wind-down game,
Yeah, that's very true. It looks like a fun time.
Hades making the jump to Xbox consoles on August 13th, also coming to Game Pass. Now, this is exciting, but also a super bummer for me because I literally just bought this game like a month and a half ago on Switch.
Honestly, they deserve the money.
Yeah, no, that's true.
True.
That's true, 100%. But now I'm wondering if I finish my 10 runs on the Switch, or if I just start over on Xbox.
No, it has save progressions. Oh, I know between Switch and Steam or in Epic Games, you can carry over your save. So I imagine they will build this in for PS4 and Xbox as well.
Oh, that would be awesome. All right, so maybe I won't have to choose. And that would be great because then I could get my Hades on the go in the form of the Switch and then play an up-res version on the TV.
I think all you need to do is upload the save to the cloud and then just pull it down on the next console where you just sign in and connect accounts.
The next thing we got was Somerville. This is probably a game that mostly speaks to me. I don't know if anybody else is into this kind of stuff, but it's a post-apocalyptic 2D adventure game in the same vein as Inside.
It's from the creators of Inside.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Is it? I don't think it's from Playdead.
I believe it was.
It's just in the same vein as it, right?
I could have sworn it was Playdead.
Anyway, so this game launches in 2022. It is one of those 2D side-scrolling puzzle platformer-esque games.
I feel like this game's gonna ruin me. It looks really heavy and narrative driven, and I don't know. There's a dog and a child.
It's from a new studio called Jump Ship, which is comprised of Playdead veterans.
Okay.
So there you
all
go.
right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They showed off more Halo Infinite and gave us a kind of a big deep dive into a bigger look at the multiplayer, right? This is basically their multiplayer reveal. They went into a deeper dive the next day with
Yeah.
a video focused on it and stuff like that. This looks like classic Halo. It looks like Halo 3, but
I am
modernized
so excited.
on cocaine. And yes, I am so hyped. I turned to my buddy because this is what we were both most excited for, was to see this. And everything I saw in this video, I was like, I'm gonna try that. It's not gonna work. We're gonna lose because I'm trying this, but I'm gonna try this a million times.
I'm gonna go back on this one. Grappling hook to the ceiling, sniper headshot.
Yeah.
Wow. Like when they first
A
showed that,
new meaning to 360 no scopes.
yeah,
Yep.
it's like mobility has been something that's increased in first-person shooters. There's like there's verticality now in shooters. There's like wall running, like with Titanfall and stuff. And Halo fell behind. Like when Halo added sprinting, people were like, "Oh, I'm trying to be Call of Duty now." But like it needed it because like if you go back and play Halo 3 now, the movement is slow. So it's just like new ways of moving around the map and doing cool shit like that fits in the world. It's cool.
And I will say, it does look like they are going kind of back to the Halo 3, where you're not going to get kind of the dash that you got in 5.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like. However, these character models are definitely moving much faster than they did in Halo 3.
Oh yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I am so excited. I mean, one of the last reviews I ever wrote for anything was Halo 5, actually, for
Was it for
work
Poptimal?
print.
Or was it?
No, that one was for the work print.
Yeah.
And so, and in that review I talked how, while it's not a perfect game for me, that it was a perfect game for me, especially because that multiplayer felt good. And I've always thought the multiplayer has always felt good, and I am so excited for this. And I think I'm very happy that they took the time to kind of get it to where they wanted it to be. They also talked
Yeah.
about how this is just the beginning, how they will be introducing new modes in the future, and they're kind of just launching with a focus on arena and big team battle,
And
as far as multiplayer is concerned.
yeah, and they announced multiplayer is free to play.
Yes,
Battle
multiplayer is free to play.
passes
That's
carry
huge.
over; they never expire, which is awesome. And so, you know, I'm just really they're doing a lot of cool stuff because I think we were talking about battle passes earlier, or last week, Rob. I have how it's like it's annoying to buy a battle pass and then just fall off a game and then be like, well,
And not
I guess
finish it,
I'm
yeah.
not gonna get that skin. And so what they've done is you can get you can buy the battle pass, you can buy the next battle pass, and you can just choose which one you want to put your experience towards, so you never feel like you're missing out by not playing, which is
you
nice.
always have,
Yeah.
you'll always have the opportunity to get it if you actually want to put in the work,
Yeah.
which more games should do, honestly. I mean, I paid for the opportunity to get those skins. Like, let me unlock the rest of those skins,
Yep.
or whatever it is that's in the battle pass. Diablo 2 Resurrected was shown off. They did confirm that it's getting next gen optimization on Xbox Series X and S. That game launches on September 23rd. A Plague Tale Requiem, a sequel to the adventure stealth game A Plague Tale Innocence, was confirmed by publisher Focus Home Interactive. That game launches in 2022.
That was
Again,
a cool trailer. Makes
Yes.
me want to play the first Plague Tale.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've heard nothing but good things about the first one. Stealth games are very hit or miss with me. So we'll see.
Agreed.
I think what I heard was solid B game, and sometimes you just need a solid B game in your life.
Yeah. And again, this game's launching in 2022. That's what I was talking about actually at the top of all of this, was that one thing that surprised me about Microsoft conferences, and actually E3 as a whole, is that it is stuff that we're going to be playing soon. You know, like even Starfield, which is November 11th, 2022, like just knowing that is just next year, you know, and time flies, right? But there was a roadmap laid out, especially for Microsoft, and they talked about this more after the press conference, where they are essentially launching a game into Game Pass, a big AAA game into Game Pass every single month for like the next 6 months. They showed off some more Far Cry 6. We've already talked about that. They showed off Slime Rancher 2, the sequel to the cult classic farming management game.
You
That
you
game,
played the first one quite a bit, right?
yeah, I played a little bit when it was still in the preview program, and I've actually played a little bit of it since, trying to see if my daughter would like it, trying to get her into it. This is one of those games that's very much a like laid back. So I talked about not really being into sim management games. This is like kind of the one exception actually. And so this is very much like a laid back, relaxed at the end of the night, just play for a couple hours.
They're so cute.
Yeah. And that game launches in 2022. So we talked about Riders Republic. This is another one that I'm glad actually that this is coming out in and coming into Game Pass is Shredders. So Shredders is a snowboarding game, and this is more in the vein of like Amped and those snowboarding games which were more sim. So you're not gonna see over the top tricks here. You know, you are gonna see kind of a more realistic snowboarding experience. This isn't SSX tricky, you know.
You mean I can't
Um,
do the 900 of Tony Hawk in real life?
But like, look, you see
Yeah.
this. Like for
Yeah.
the most part, you're getting one rotation, maybe two, you know, on all these tricks. And this is the same way that Slime Rancher is like a relaxed game. That's what these games were for me. You know, is I
Yeah.
would just hit on a custom soundtrack because the Xbox 360 used to let you
Oh,
rip those.
yeah.
You know,
Oh,
and now I can just have Spotify playing in the background, turn down the in-game music, and just relax and play something like this. I am excited. I hope this is very good.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it says it takes inspiration from snowboarding movies and the Amp games from the original Xbox. So
Oh,
yeah,
amazing. Yeah,
perfect.
Steep was really good at that. Like just cruising around, just like having like a super relaxing time with, like you said, just some of the music you love to play, and
Yeah.
I don't know, it's like some of the best gaming moments. So I hope this lives up to it too.
All right, the next game they showed off was Atomic Heart. This one came out of nowhere.
This
This
is
was such a weird, cool, interesting trailer.
it disturbs me.
This is like almost Kojima-esque in some of the stuff that you see here.
It is the robot design is so disturbing to me, and I can't put my finger on why it is.
It's like semi-organic, but like
Yeah, it takes place in the Soviet Union in an alternate reality sometime in 1955, where technology like the internet, holograms, robots have already been invented. You play as a special agent called P3 who is sent by the government to investigate a manufacturing facility that has fallen silent. So I'm guessing a robot revolution of some kind.
I love like the test dummy mustache.
Oh, that one's the one that gets me. Yeah, like, fuck.
I don't know where it is, but it
Right-
just
right
made
there.
me laugh.
Yeah.
Look at that. That
I don't know. man.
I hate it. I
This
absolutely
game-
hate it.
This game looks very, very cool. Also, it does look like it could be a janky mess, honestly.
Hmm.
So we'll see. I mean, I'm excited for this. So we'll see what happens. I'm also very excited for the next game, Replaced. This 2D
Oh,
pixel art
yeah.
adventure game. That I think the story is that an AI has been put inside somebody's head, right? So
AI trapped in a human body against its own
exactly.
will.
Yep. And so, I mean, everything about this, from the art, the way the combat looks, I mean, this is a very, very slick trailer and has me super hyped for this.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
was my favorite trailer from E3, I think, which is a
At
lot.
first, I thought it was just like a shot, and then I was like, "Where's the gameplay?" You know, like they're just
Yeah.
this is cool pixel art, whatnot. And then like you see him swinging and climbing, and I was like, "Oh shit, this looks amazing."
Yeah,
But,
no,
like,
I am.
One problem with this is like we've seen a lot of pixel art games before, and they just never come out. I just
Yeah.
Well,
there's so many
this one
cool
has-
looking ones.
This one is supposed to launch in 2022. I also like what they're doing, and the last couple scenes they showed off, where they mess with the perspective and the angle and stuff like that as the combat and gameplay goes
Yeah.
on. I hope this is good, man.
Yeah.
I really hope so.
The next thing they talked about was a new update for Grounded, the Shroom and Doom update. Have any of you guys played Grounded at all?
I tried it out when it first came out, and then I was just like, I'll wait for it to get a couple updates and stuff like that. Plus, my graphics card and my Windows build were not behaving, so performance wasn't great.
So of all of these like survival games, this genre where you kind of find the fun yourself, this is the one that has grabbed me the most and the one that I've enjoyed playing the most. I never really got into Minecraft or any of those types of games, Terraria and stuff like that. But Grounded was the first one where I was like, I could see myself putting a ton of hours into this. The one thing that did bother me was I played it right when it launched, and it still is in preview. It's not a full game or release yet, so it was super content light. So I'm seeing this trailer was one of those things where like maybe finally I'll go back because this is like the third update they've had since then. But part of me also just wants to wait until they're like, okay, it's out. This is a full game. But I also feel like they're never gonna say it's a full game. That they're just gonna keep releasing these kind of smaller updates. They showed off Among Us again.
Coming to
They showed off,
consoles, 15 players.
yeah, 15 players is nuts. That's too many players.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't know how you like unless you're in party chat with folks or unless there's like voice chat. I don't know how you do the typing on console fast enough to accuse people.
Yeah,
with
I mean,
randoms at least.
Yeah, there's gonna have to be some sort of quick chat system, like
Yeah.
it with red. I saw blue, whatever. Um. All right, Bilal, you want to pronounce this next one for me?
All
How do you
right,
pronounce it?
I think it's Ayudin Chronicles, 100 Heroes. So if you are a fan of the Suikoden games or the RPGs back on the original PlayStation, this is from those creators. And my God, I didn't kickstart this because it's not going to come out until 2023, but I really wanted to. But it already hit its goal. I was like, I'll just wait. But the art looks gorgeous. The combat is look at this. Look how the combat plays out. It's gorgeous. And like these are RPGs where like the title of the game is 100 Heroes. It's because you will get 100 heroes for your party. Which sounds ridiculous, but you know, games like Chrono Cross and the Suikoden series, it was quite common for you to get all these characters. And then they also announced Rising, which comes out next year, which is like a hack and slash, which will take heroes that you meet in that you will get to have in your party in 100 heroes. You'll get in Rising, and your save data carries over, and you get some cool bonuses that way. So
The next, yeah, I mean, looks cool.
Yeah.
I've never played any of those other games, so this will be my first foray into this type
Yeah.
of game, and so again, this was one of those things where I said before is that I've never played a game like that before, not necessarily my thing, but because it was being shown, and I believe that one's also launching into Game Pass as well, right?
Yep.
Did they say on this one? Yeah. And so, like, there's no reason for me not to try it. Speaking of launching into Game Pass, they also showed off more of The Ascent, which actually releases next month, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, July
the
29th.
29th.
Yeah. And I am already, like,
Day one.
super excited about this game.
Yeah.
Like and here's the cool thing, over on this Twitch channel, I think me and you have been trying to find games that we want to play together, and everything that's been announced coming to Game Pass or updates to existing games on Game Pass that are multiplayer are there. We don't need to spend a penny to find content to play and stream, which is a really nice feeling to have.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They also showed off more of Age of Empires 4. That game launches on October 28th. The next trailer they showed off was
The best trailer.
it was a non-cinematic trailer for the sequel to The Outer Worlds. The Outer Worlds 2 is just making fun of stereotypical game trailers. Obviously, this game is very early in. I was shocked that we even had this as an announcement, and this is the one game that kind of bucks that trend of like not showing things that are too far out.
Mm-hmm. I think
That-
I read some. I forgot who said it. It might have been Jeff Grubb. I could be wrong on that, but they said that they wanted to get this announced so they can start hiring for the team that will be building this, or like expand on that team, just so you get the title out there. You can just be like, hey, we're building another one of these, because a lot of stuff does leak through job descriptions. So
Right, yeah. No, and hey, I'm fine. I was pleasantly surprised to see this get announced. I really love that first one. I think we need more Western RPGs in this style that are only 25 to 30 hours.
Yeah.
At least that you can beat it and mainline it in that time, and then if you want to invest more time in it, you can.
And that first one got a couple, 2-3 rounds of DLC as well.
Yep. They also showed off Microsoft Flight Simulator Console Edition that is coming July. So this is coming next month as well. They also showed off a crossover expansion with Top Gun Maverick. I think this game, and I went back and watched like the 4K trailer of it. This game looks absolutely gorgeous. It's cool that it's coming to console. I don't. I know that the game already does a pretty good job of allowing it to be extremely sim or a little bit more arcadey if you want with some of the assists and stuff like that. So I could see myself kind of getting in and giving it a try. It's just not the kind of game for me where I'm going to be like, all right, we're going from DC to Vegas. We've got, 3.5 hours. As long as we get good win, I'm just going to let it coast for 3.5 hours and, sim it all the way and role play it all the way. That being said, I do have a friend who was super, super excited about this. And the fact that this is only coming to the S and X and not coming to Xbox One is what's pushing him over the edge to finally make that leap and pick up a next gen. And then, of course, after this was shown off, there was the announcement that I think it's Turtle Beach is making a controller for this game.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's
That's
a crazy controller. It's really nice.
It's also like $300, so.
Yeah.
Now
Turtle
this
Beach.
this next trailer caught me off guard because we talked about this before. How my expectation was that they would show Forza Motorsport, the next Forza Motorsport, because they had taken that year off and kind of messed with the cadence of how these games normally release. And so to see Forza Horizon 5 actually get announced was surprising for me. And it's coming this year. Now,
I'm so excited.
yeah, I was going to say, I was shocked and surprised, but I'm also very happy. This looks great. I have loved the Forza Horizon franchise and the series to date. And they also showed off the event lab, which is going to allow players to design and create their game modes, which is super smart in the age of GTA Online, where what has given that such long legs is that it allows you and allows players to come up with their own races. There's a community that continues to develop content and put stuff out there. And the stuff they showed off, it looks like you can get pretty silly with what some of these game modes are and what you can do in there.
Yeah, I think something
And
with bowling pins.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I said, I was super shocked by this. I'm also super excited.
And that's November 9th of this year.
Yeah, that's day one for sure.
Yeah, co-op's brought back. They also confirmed it's 4K 60 on the X and 1080p 60 on the Series S.
Yep.
Amazing.
There was a great tweet I saw about this that goes, the race car game is doing better at authentic writing and representation than Far Cry 6.
Womp womp.
Yeah, well, I mean, I kind of don't want to get into that, some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Because, Far Cry 6 is dealing with it's basically Cuba. I mean, they're saying it's not Cuba, it's a fictional country and stuff like that, but it's Cuba, right?
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, you have Forza Horizon, which is taking place in Mexico. So the way it appears they are treating this, Hispanic, this Latino culture in the two games does seem to be, there's some reverence, right, being shown in Forza Horizon. I think that's what that tweet speaks to. That's not being shown in Far Cry. And so, I don't know. But anyway, that being said, yes, Forza Horizon 5 looks awesome. Now, the last thing they showed off, and also the thing that caught me super off guard and might be what was for sure my biggest surprise, is the studio over at Arcane Austin is doing their take on a co-op monster shooter. Right, we talked about we're getting a lot of these.
So many of these.
Yeah,
So much.
called Redfall, where in this game it seems like this is class-based, so there's a difference there. And also it deals with vampires and cultists as the enemies. everything that Arcane does is so cool. Like there's just so much style behind everything that they make. From Dishonored to
Dishonored.
this, and even like the other Arcane. I mean, just Arcane as a whole. You talk
Yeah.
about different studios there, but even what we're seeing out of Deathloop, right? The style out of there, even different studios seem to share the same kind of signature when it comes to this stuff. And I mean, everything about this got me excited and got me hyped. The way this trailer, and granted, we didn't see any actual gameplay in this, but just the tone it sets, where it is dealing with this supernatural storyline, but also the way this trailer is cut shows that there is going to be a comedic side to it. All these characters have personality. They have their different personalities. They have these different abilities. There are these different weapons, and it looks like it's not going to be taking itself too serious, and that is the exact tone I want in stuff like this. Like,
Yeah. And I like that as vampires. I think it's
Yes.
time to finally get back into vampires.
yeah, I agree 100%.
The gun shoots stakes, and it seems like everyone has powers. I'm not sure, like, yeah, like this, like a little elevator that launches you straight into the sky, and the characters go on top of a building. So maybe it plays like an Overwatch with each character has certain abilities, and then you just use those to make your way around the level. And depending on who you choose to play through those levels with, it differs. They're branding this as a open world co-op first person shooter. Open world is kind of interesting for that part, but definitely excited to see how this all plays out.
Yeah. And so, I mean, for me, that is my most anticipated is Halo, just because of I'm a Halo fanatic through and through. I mean, to the point where I own a couple of the novels, and I go outside and try to, nerd out as much of the lore as I can. And so that's what I'm most excited for. But the biggest surprise for me, for sure, was Redfall. Like, after Halo, I'm looking forward more to Redfall than I am to Starfield, and I think that says a lot.
Yeah.
Race, what about you? What was your biggest surprise? What are you looking forward to most?
Biggest surprise was Forza. I think for me, like I wasn't like anticipating that at all. I think last time I was on, I was saying I'm playing like Horizon 4 and just like getting back into it, and just it's been a lot of fun. So I like wasn't even thinking about like Horizon 5 at least. I was thinking maybe it's Motorsport. I think it's 8, the next one. So I thought they were going to show that, but not Horizon. So that was huge. And then most anticipated, like it has to be Halo, because also a Halo fan. We've all grown up playing it. Like that's like where the love of competitive shooters for me kind of came up. But also my favorite trailer was Replaced. So like I'm super curious to see more of that. But Replaced, like the art style in that game was mind blowing. It reminded me of like Blade Runner and like all these other games. But like just pixel art when done really well is like my favorite art style, I think, and to a whole new level. But yeah, definitely Halo. Like I think bar none. Just very excited. Gonna take 2 weeks off work.
Ali, what about you? What's got you most excited?
So I am unmuted. I'm back. I could talk about it. I don't have an Xbox Series or S. I don't know if I'm going to get one. So as much as I want to get on the Halo train because I desperately want to, I don't know how easily I'll be able to do that unless I drive over to Race's place and I do it over there. So Race,
You're welcome anytime.
yeah, that's it. We're not that far from each other, so that might happen. That being
Done.
said, I've been waiting for Psychonauts 2 for a really long time. I'm a big fan of the first game. I absolutely think that even if you don't play the second game, you should play the first. So that's one, and the other is Eiyuden Chronicles, and I haven't played Suikoden. Suikoden is actually in the retro pocket that I have right now. But Eiyuden Chronicle is kind of like the game that wowed me when I saw it. Of course, who the hell knows when it's going to come out? Same thing with Replaced. I get also pretty nervous watching games like that because there was a game that came out 4 years ago called The Last Night, and it just like had an amazing trailer, and then that's it. That's it. Like that's it. No other words. Just an amazing pixel trailer and nothing. So I do want to wait for something. I mean, like the Ascent looks dope too, but I don't even have a PC, so I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to be doing. But I think I'm just going to wait for August and get Psychonauts and just be happy with that.
What about you, Bilal?
For me, I'm excited to see games coming to Xbox, and it's not just like for me, exclusives are fine. Whatever. Like I could care less if Starfield went to PS5 at launch. That doesn't matter to me. For me, it's the value of Game Pass that they continue to show. If you have an Xbox or a PC and you don't have Game Pass, I don't know what you're thinking at this point because the value there is the savings is crazy because you can spend a little under $200 a year and have access to countless games, especially in 2022 when a lot of these are launching or near the end of this year. And there's something to play. There's something for everybody. Not every game is going to be for you, but you can try it without having to, feel like you're losing something. The conversation you had earlier, Rob, like with you and your friends that are playing Chivalry, like that's not a game I want to buy, but maybe I want to dip my toes in and maybe I'll come around to it. But for $60, that's a hard sell. But if I have access to a giant catalog of games, I can download. I could download it and give it a shot. Worst case, I've wasted 100 gigs to download the game, but that space comes right back.
Yeah,
and
no,
Halo, yeah,
100%.
like seeing Halo back after last year's terrible reception. Like I wasn't happy with what I saw last year, but it looks great. It's performing great. Even that small story teaser we got me pumped. That score still goes unanswered in my opinion. It just sounds great. And no, Microsoft's like their Phil Spencer's bets are finally paying off, and it's happy to see it. And I think next year they're going to show up with Fable, with whatever some of the other stuff they didn't show, and like I think their E3 next year is gonna be spectacular. One of their best ones, and this was one of their best conferences in my opinion. Yeah.
Is Sony coming out with something, and are they going to like drop something in 2 days? Been like, okay, here's our showcase. Is that supposed to happen?
I mean, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't have anything on the. They don't have anything on the books right
Yeah.
now, and we kind of already know what they have. My guess is that we will. Oh, my guess is that we will get a state of play sometime in the fall. Um, Giving us an exact date on Horizon Forbidden West, maybe some info on a time frame for God of War or whatever they have lined up for the next year. And what I was gonna say regarding like Game Pass, Bilal, is that there was that report about Microsoft wanting to kind of change the narrative on them not having any games and wanting to go ahead and hoping to get a big release into Game Pass every quarter, And it does seem that they are on their way to doing that. And I mean, the acquisition of Bethesda goes a long way towards that and all those other studios that they picked up. And like you said, we saw so much. I mean, we saw 30 games and we did not see Fable. We didn't see Perfect Dark. We didn't see the next game in the Gears franchise. Like there's still so many other properties they have out there and so many other games that to come, right? And then you have Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo all releasing this year or next year, and then what do those studios go on to make, afterwards? And so seeing what they had this year definitely sets the bar, and I think it's a kind of a look at what we can expect from Microsoft going forward.
Yeah.
Is that they are being aggressive in getting games on the console, games people can get excited for, and for basically saying, hey, we're not in the hardware market, right? Yes, we have hardware, but we have hardware so you enjoy our services, tailored for our services, and our service is Game Pass. Like, that is what they are. Whether you like it or not, they are becoming a Game Pass company. And, I think that's awesome. Like, I'm super, super excited. There was also news prior to this press conference that they are looking to bring the cloud streaming platform to TVs, releasing their own streaming stick so that they can have the cloud streaming built in.
Yeah.
And for, you mentioned $15 a month, you get all of that. I mean,
Oh, you don't need to
I-
buy an
PC,
Xbox. You can just
yeah.
use you can use your LG OLED. Just download that Xbox app in the future.
Yep, exactly.
And like the TVs have like Bluetooth support. Like these smart TVs are kind of
Yep.
insane.
Yeah.
And
So yeah, no, I mean, I thought top to bottom, it was a super strong conference. I mean, better than super strong. I thought it was
Yeah.
awesome.
yeah,
And I think it was the best one, honestly.
and they came out ahead of the show and they announced the streaming stick. They announced that their cloud, what is it, Project X Cloud? What are they calling it?
It's just Xbox cloud streaming.
Yeah, cloud streaming. Their cloud streaming servers are being upgraded to the Series X blades. So there's a lot of cool stuff happening there, and I really hope that improves their streaming output there. Because I was talking to Race over the weekend, who was using his Backbone to play Ratchet and Clank, and he was like, that Backbone is amazing in terms of what it offers like with latency streaming from his place in New York to Jersey.
Yeah, that thing is. It's been life changing, honestly. Like, I just going to the parents' place in Jersey and like being able to play Ratchet and Clank. The first one, because I was trying to beat it before Rift Apart. Just playing the entire thing pretty much in Jersey, just streaming. It was like flawless. It was really cool. It felt unreal.
All right, let's go ahead and get into the next big conference. We had Square Enix. Square Enix, for whatever reason, decided that they were going to open up and spend 15, 20 minutes, however long it was, on the new Guardians of the Galaxy game, which, don't get me wrong, I'm excited for this game. I think it looks like it'd be really cool. I love Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought the art style was interesting. I think some of the character designs are better than others.
Star-Lord looks like a douche.
But then again, part of it is because at this point I have the comic references in my head and I have the MCU reference in my head. So anytime we see anything that doesn't match up with one of those, almost 1-to-1, it is a little bit jarring. I think that like I said, some of the character designs lend themselves better to different interpretations. I think when you're dealing with straight up humans, those are the ones that are the toughest to kind of reimagine. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, Star-Lord does kind of look like a douche.
Just give him a better haircut. That's all I'm asking. Give him a better haircut. Now, fix Drax's head. It's too human. And then I think Rocket, Gamora, and Groot look fantastic.
And the big thing out of this is that this game is actually releasing October 26th of this year. And so, I mean...
Oh.
Yeah.
And so,
I didn't realize it was that soon.
Yeah, and so I'm excited for that. Again, it's another game to look forward to in this fall, because this fall was looking prior to E3, outside of Halo and maybe Forbidden West, like there weren't a lot of games I was super looking forward to in the fall. But now we've got a ton of different releases with Forza Horizon, with his Guardians, and so the fall is definitely filling out. They also announced. This is one of the funniest things, is they talked about the Final Fantasy Pixel remaster. They're remastering of the first 6 Final Fantasy games as a celebration of the franchise. And of course, when you celebrate something, you want to limit who can play it. So you release it only on Steam, Android, and iOS. What are they thinking?
I hate it. I don't understand. Like, I was ready to just stream all 6 games just to because I haven't played some of these earlier ones. I don't know what they're thinking. Like, why? Like, at least the Switch.
At least the Switch. I agree. I mean, I think you should put it on the PS5, the PS4, Xbox One, the Xbox Series consoles. Put it on the GameCube. Put it on everything. I don't understand what they're thinking with this.
Yeah. And
at least we got a backbone.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And so the interesting thing, I saw someone did art compared the pixel art remaster to the original sprites. So there's the original sprites, there's the remasters they did for mobile where they cleaned all the lines and it made it look terrible. And then there's this, which is somewhere in between, where they cleaned up some of the images. I still like the original sprites the best, but I can see why they would clean up some of it. But all you need to do is release the ROMs. Just grab the ROMs off the internet and put them out. Nintendo has done that in the past. That's all you need to do, and put it on all the modern consoles, and they still can't do that right.
So the next thing they showed off was Marvel's Avengers Black Panther War for Wakanda expansion. I am a Marvel Avengers apologist in some ways, where I understand that game is flawed, does get repetitive, and is content light. I still think that the core of the game is fun. The core experience, the different characters do play different, and when you're playing with your friends, kind of mix and matching your abilities to take down enemies, I think there's a lot of fun to be had there. I do believe that it is sorely missing content. So for them to release not just a new character, new story, but also a new location in this expansion, I, I'm excited for this. Now, there was that leak about them having big plans with having plans for all these different characters and stuff like that to be released. I think everything is going to rely on whether or not players come back for this expansion, on if those plans come to fruition. I do believe that this is kind of the last grasp, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at any content, comment section for when they do these streams for this game or whatnot, everybody that bought it on a Sony console is like, "Where's Spider-Man? You promised us Spider-Man."
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, and like they still haven't delivered on that. But like, I agree with you. This Black Panther update looks awesome. It looks like there's a ton of story content. And they don't show his face, but very strong resemblance to Chadwick Boseman. Like you see from the angles that you can see.
The funny thing is, so I only watched this once, and immediately I was wondering if they were going to kind of use his likeness. I don't know. I think, sure, maybe kind of a little bit, but I do think it does look like their own interpretation once again of the character, and I think that's the right way to do it. Honestly, I mean, yeah, there's the idea of wanting to honor him and stuff like that, but I think it's probably the better call. They also showed off Hitman Sniper: The Shadows. This is a sniping puzzle game, kind of in the vein of those Go mobile titles, and again, this one is releasing on mobile, and so I don't know. It looks fine. I don't have much more to say.
Yeah.
Square Enix announced that players can pre-register for Nier Reincarnation, which is, again, another mobile title. This is an action command-based RPG set within the Nier universe. I mean, Square Enix going hard on mobile, man.
Again, Brave Exvius, the crossover stuff with that, with the Warriors of Light.
Their First Soldier. Yeah, apparently First Soldier is available to play in some areas already.
And I think there's an Android beta going on for that. Yeah, and I heard it's not great.
I heard it wasn't bad. Which, again, not great, wasn't bad. But I heard it wasn't bad. And so they also showed off Babylon's Fall, which is that game that Platinum Games is doing.
Yeah, and I think it's been a rude awakening because I think Platinum's been on some sort of streak or okay-ish streak. But I think this is a reminder that Platinum has put out some terrible games in the past.
This doesn't look good.
This doesn't look good. The voice
doesn't look good.
Yeah, this looks really bad.
There is something
Platinum
about
definitely has like a B team. Platinum's B team just is responsible for like all the games like this.
They also have like a F tier voice acting or voice casting team because like the villain's voice in this is terrible. Like, do yourself a favor and like give it a listen. I think it could be fun, but I don't know how early this is. But graphically, it doesn't look great. It really doesn't.
No.
It's a co-op online multiplayer for parties up to 4. Hack and slash adventure. This does not look good. This does not look good.
Moving along, the original Life is Strange Remastered Collection. So this is this Life is Strange 1 and 2? Is that what they're remastering here?
That and Before the Storm.
And Before the Storm, yeah. And so that is going to launch September 30th for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Steam, and Google Stadia. Wait, hold on a second. Is that really?
And Switch as well. But I think that was announced later. Yeah, PS4, Xbox Series X. Oh, wait, no.
So they're doing a remaster with a visual overhaul on the same consoles that it originally launched on?
I guess.
I feel
Seems
like
like
I feel like I kind of missed this part and just assumed that it would be like a next gen version.
That might be a type. But let me look at the end of this trailer.
All right,
Uh,
yeah, go ahead, because I hope that.
All right, let's see. It's Stadia, PS4. You're right.
No, it's not a,
Okay.
it's not a typo.
That is a very interesting choice. Now, don't get me wrong; those games, even when they came out, looked kind of dated,
Yeah.
you know. But the story behind
Yeah.
them was so good. I mean, I really liked that first one.
All right. So what they're saying is remastered visuals across characters and environments. So facelift there improves character and vastly improves character animation using full facial mocap for performances. Featured in Life is Strange remastered only, and updated and refined gameplay puzzles. So it looks like they went back, updated some of those assets.
I don't think that those games necessarily needed it.
Yeah,
right?
I think
I don't.
they're fine.
Think
Yeah.
I don't think that this is gonna bring people in necessarily. But hey,
And I'm still iffy about Before the Storm because the voice actor strike was going on then, and they just recasted
Ashley Birch.
Ashley Birch with a different voice actress, and I weirdly enough that was the reason I didn't play it. I was like, that's just wrong with me, and so I never played Before the Storm.
They also showed off a new gameplay trailer for the next title in the Life is Strange franchise.
That's not Life is Strange.
True Colors. This looked very cool. I mean, this again kind of feels like they're going back to what the original was.
I'm into it.
I'm very, very into it. And this game is releasing on September 10th.
Yeah. Did they say this is gonna be episodic or is it the entire thing?
No,
at
my
once?
understanding is that this one's the whole thing at once, right?
Okay.
I think they're moving away from the episodic model for this one.
Yeah. That
I
probably makes
believe-
sense.
That'd be great.
I believe that's how this one
Yeah.
works. And so
Yeah, that was the only reason I stopped playing the first one.
Oh,
Yeah.
you should finish that first one. It
That first
goes
one is-
places.
so good.
Yeah.
And then let me know what you decide at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the last thing they showed off was Stranger Paradise Final Fantasy Origin.
Chaos.
And they actually also released a free trial version that's available now on the PlayStation 5 and will run through June 24th.
Can we talk about that demo for a second?
Hold on. Let's talk about the trailer.
Okay.
And you mentioned, you exclaimed chaos. That trailer was awful.
It was god
That trailer
awful.
was so bad. The fact that they said chaos no less than like 22 times.
9 times.
And Rob and I talked about this game last week because of the rumors that were there, and we were pumped. We're like a Dark Souls with Final Fantasy vibes from Team Ninja, Koei Tecmo. Like awesome, everything about that sounds great. And then this trailer played, and like the entire internet was like, "What is this?" And Nomura.
Yeah, like who is this game for, right? Like I don't understand. Like the concept behind it is great, but like, who is this for? It doesn't make any sense. But it feels like they're just trying to talk us out. Yeah, I think people are just gonna play this when they just want to have like a hack and slash type of game.
I have the press release, and I just want to read this line from Nomura really quick.
The thing is that this game is not like, yes, this game has some hack and slash elements to it, but it very much is still a Soulsborne type game. Now, Bilal mentioned he wanted to talk about the demo.
Yeah, so they announced a demo that would release after the game, after the press conference, and then the demo came out and it was corrupted, leading everyone to like dive even deeper on the chaos. But they finally got it working 2 days later. So I fired it up after work today and played through it. I really like it. It's a solid demo. It's actually quite meaty. It plays well. It's somewhere between a Dark Souls and a Neo in terms of complexity. Neo, I think it's too technical with the abilities and whatnot, but the demo is bad. Not the demo. The trailer is bad. The trailer does not do it justice. Graphically, I know it's a demo, so I'm holding off on reservations. It didn't look great, but it ran fine in performance mode. It was very smooth. I could do the actions. You have like two battle sets of like, I had a great sword and I had like a mace that was also allowed me to cast magic. And so you come across like the classic enemies, like the Final Fantasy's bombs, the fire bombs. And so if you throw fire magic at them, they grow. And if you throw enough fire at them, they'll blow up and they'll set the grass on fire, which will do extra damage on enemies nearby. And it's a really cool system. There was no souls, so you killed enemies, you got experience, and there's a skill tree, you could add points into it. There's a lot of depth to it, and like after playing it, I'm 100% day one in on this. Like if you guys like the Souls games, highly recommend checking it out. And that boss at the end is extremely hard. Managed to beat him, but yes, I did kill Chaos, but it was not easy.
I
Is there?
also played this demo. I think it falls somewhere in between a Soulsborne and a Devil May Cry-esque game. Now, I like both those things. I did not like this demo. You mentioned that there is a ton of systems going on. There's a ton of systems going on. To the point where like it's going to take a while, I feel like, to wrap your head around, okay, this button does this button does this, but also I have this. And casting spells does not feel good at all. Like using that wheel to get the spells does not feel good.
You have to, it's more of a range thing. Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I also didn't feel like the combat was all that satisfying. Now, there are some cool things, like the fact that, the
Soul Break? No. Soul Crush. Soul Burst, yes.
Yes. The Soul Burst mechanic, which is kind of like your parry, where when an enemy throws a projectile at you, you basically gain the ability to use that. So you were talking about the fireball enemies. When they shot you, if you soul bursted that, you then had instant abilities, fireballs back. And so I went through that whole area, soul bursting and then shooting them right back, filling them up with fire, making them fat, making them blow up.
Yeah.
And so there are parts of it like that are pretty cool, but the environment was boring.
It's generic. I'll give it that.
Yeah. It's very, very generic. As you already touched on the fact that visually it's uninteresting to me. I don't think it looks all that great.
I like, for me, I don't know. Did they put a release date on this yet?
No, it doesn't look like there is one.
2022.
2022. Then like, I'll give it some time. Like, it might not be interesting, but like, I don't think Neo was too interesting from when I played. But like, it was all about the actual gameplay for me. I mean, I think From Software is
fair.
Yeah. I think From Software is special in that they know how to craft an environment and just do great environmental storytelling with their stuff. But I think as long as it's, for me, it was the combat just felt smooth. It felt great. And then like the tie-ins to Final Fantasy 1 with the story stuff like at the end and some of the characters that spoke to me at a nostalgic level. Like, it shouldn't work, but like your AI companions are kind of useless. I don't know if it's still early for that, but like one's name is Jed, the other's name is Ash, the main protagonist's name is Jack. Come on, Japan, what's going on here?
Wait, but that's a big question because Garland and Chaos, they're recognizable, but there's no other character tie to Final Fantasy 1.
Princess Sarah, there's a voiceover from her when you get to the boss room. She speaks about Garland, and Garland actually mentions when you ask him who he is, he's like, I'm to become Chaos. Like, he knows he's not Chaos just yet.
But who the hell is Jack? What is this Jack guy?
I don't know who is Jack. They call themselves the Warriors of Light, and like, and the interesting thing is, like, in the first Final Fantasy game, you actually go and fight Garland to rescue Princess Sarah.
Yeah,
and so like that's the very first thing you do, and that sets off like the everything in motion for like that story of that game and how Chaos is born and the Four Fiends and everything. Yeah, but like, and that's the hook for me. I'm very curious to see where the story goes.
So is that, out of everything they announced, is that what you're most excited for?
Yeah, I think coming out of E3, this is one of the most exciting things after getting my hands on that demo and playing through it.
oh my god.
Yeah,
I have to play this demo. I don't understand.
No, I mean, you should play it. I'm interested to hear your take on it, considering that you're like a Soulsborne From Software fanatic, and just seeing what you think of. If you fall in line with him, or if you're more of me, where this just didn't do it for me.
I mean, okay, so I don't want to go too deep into like the why I don't like the 360 era too much, but I do think that, like the way that the game feels like the games from like 15 years ago, where they were just churning out games one by one by one by one with bland faces, like weird,
Mm-hmm.
like it's not even like the graphics need to be good. It's just like it's just weirdly stiff and robotic in ways that just feel uncomfortable and take you out of the game.
Yeah.
So I think beyond its Final Fantasy and beyond that the gameplay is going to be like Dark Souls, it just doesn't feel or look immersive in anywhere, right? It's just like, okay, they found, you know how like Mario 2 wasn't a Mario game? They just slapped on Mario and then they just shipped it to the States. That's what this feels like. They just found like a generic game on Steam. They threw the Final Fantasy IP on it, and they're just like, all right, put Garland in it, whatever, who cares? They don't really, they'll get excited because we said Garland, and you haven't heard Garland in a long time. That's kind of like that's
It,
why I'm so hesitant. I am
I,
gonna play the demo though.
it's
you're reducing my taste, and you're 100% right.
no, that's why Bilal is so hooked. They know how to market
Yeah,
specifically to him.
like
Yeah.
like it's not the greatest one of these I've played. It doesn't come anywhere near like a Dark Souls or something, but like there's something there, and it's speaking to me, and
Yeah.
it's making me happy. I know it's not going to be for everyone, but I'll say this: this is the first one of these I've seen with a difficulty mode setting. You can put it on casual, normal, or hard. Like on casual, it even says like, hey, if you just want to experience the story and breeze through this game, throw it on casual. And like, I think this is something. Like, I know this is an argument within like the Souls community, but I think they should have it. Like, there's no harm in having people experience your game and the designs. It's like if you get more people in there to experience it, why not?
I
What
mean,
about
I'm going to try the demo. I think the demo is the turning point. So let me see how that changes things.
what about you, Race? Anything from Square Enix got you excited?
Yeah, I think we may have accidentally skipped it, but Legend of Mana, I think that's
Oh,
like my
I think I did skip it by
my
mistake.
number one favorite.
really?
Like it's one of the first games I've played,
Mm-hmm.
just period. Like just growing up on PS1, and it was with Bilal and my brother, and I'm pretty sure we had like a bootleg version of it where it got stuck
So
at a certain point in the game,
we had modded.
and it was like the lion boss.
Yeah, we had
Yeah, we had modded PS1s
we
way
had
back in
modded
the day.
PS1s, and like the disc was from Pakistan, so we put it in and we played it. And every time we got to this lion boss, it would just freeze hand. It
I
was
just remember
disappointing.
loving that
It was so
game.
much fun. Like you got
So
the
I'm
little
really,
houses and you got to plant them on the map.
yeah. So I'm super
Yeah, I
excited to
remember
have that
that.
on the Switch, especially. So I'm looking to see if that aged well, and like if the memories I have that are so fond are gonna live up to it. But that's what I'm most excited for sure.
Did you
Oh,
play Trials of Mana?
I didn't know. I don't know why. I think I was just like in Legend of Mana mode where I like just have always wanted to play that game again and then move on to Trials of Mana. So maybe
Hmm.
this will be my entryway back in.
all
I
right. What
feel you
about
because yeah, sorry.
no? Go ahead.
I started like my journey. Well, not journey, but like I remember playing Secret of Mana back in like 90. I don't even know when it came out, like 92, 93, something like that. So I definitely remember Legend of Mana, but like Legend of Mana in that PS1 era, like everything was good in that PS1 era. Like I think every RPG,
Yeah.
even the bad ones, were just like amazing and awesome. And I like drunk every single PS1 RPG that came out. So like I feel you, and so I'm keeping that on my.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So would you say that's the one you're most excited for? I mean, that's what I was gonna ask.
Uh, I'm disappointed in Square just in general because this was just weird.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems silly to just be like, where the hell is Remake Part 2? Because Intergrade just came out. But Intergrade just came out. Everyone's talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
And you're gonna drop Final Fantasy 16 last year and then not mention anything this year. It's just like
I think that's they're saving it for a Sony press conference for
I
16.
get it. I
Yeah.
get it. But I think in that scheme where we're not getting like these huge new trailers that are 4 or 5 years in the future. at least do like a dev blog or a dev video or an update or just something, just being like it exists still. Because like this, I think if anything that Elden Ring taught us is either one, people are going to lose their minds, or two, it's genius and just don't mention anything for 3 years and then just release the game. But I think it's just like, Square, if you're going to choose this route where this is your showcase, it's like, what did you honestly showcase? Because it's like a remaster, it's like a weird IP, just like Team Ninja, I don't even know what. And then it's just like a bunch of other random things that are either add-ons like Black Panther, or just, I don't even know what else they even announced, because everything else is like we already knew about.
Yeah.
This like pixel remaster, people just like, what the hell,
Yeah. No,
So
I definitely think that Square Enix, and we're gonna talk about Capcom next. I think some of the stuff we saw this past weekend was definitely one of those things where just because you can have a presentation at E3 doesn't
yeah,
necessarily mean you have to have one, right?
And I think
I would,
I think part of that is because the ESA needed to fill in
yeah,
a
right,
schedule and ask them.
yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm excited for that Guardians of the Galaxy game, mostly
yeah.
because the one thing about Avengers that everybody can seem to agree about is that single player campaign was very good, like way better than it had any right to be. And if they had just released that, honestly, I think Marvel's Avengers would have a better rap. You know, maybe they just fleshed it out a little bit more because it was a little bit on the shorter side. But if they had just released like a single player campaign story that and by itself without this live service multiplayer stuff, as much as I enjoy it, I think that they would have came out with a better reputation. And so to see that this is just a single player narrative focused game has me excited. And more than anything, the fact that it is coming out this year in October has me super hyped for it. But yeah, I agree that the Square Enix conference as a whole was presentation as a whole was kind of weak, but it was not as weak as Capcom's. Now, that being said, Capcom did kind of get out ahead of time and say, "Hey, we don't really have much. This is what we have and what we're going to talk about." I think I was just hoping for a little bit more, right? Like, for example, the Resident Evil Village news was just that one, next month, the multiplayer mode is actually launching, and two, development on DLC is starting. Like, there's no idea of what the next DLC is going to be. Even if they had like a name for the next DLC to tease, that would have been way more exciting than what they actually did here. They also showed off a new story trailer for Monster Hunter Stories 2: Wings of Ruin. Um, again, this is all stuff that we knew about. We knew what was coming. It was actually shown, at other presentations. It's going to be shown at the Nintendo presentation, which we're going to get to next. Monster Runner High's 3.1 update. Like, don't get me wrong. Nothing that they showed, every game that they showed looks like a good game and are good games, right? There was just nothing exciting out of them. I mean, after that, there was the um, great Ace Attorney Chronicles, which we already knew was coming out. And for whatever reason, the most mind-boggling thing, in my opinion, is their decision to focus on Capcom esports to end their
Oh yeah,
presentation. Right? Like,
Great Ace Attorney.
Yeah.
The Great Ace Attorney is something fans of that franchise have been asking for, because it's, I think, the one of the last ones that hasn't been translated for the West, and it was a good one to end on. Like, Capcom delivered for their fans. Like, if you're a Capcom fan, if you're a fan of Monster Hunter, you're a fan of Ace Attorney or Resident Evil, like, there was stuff there for you, and that's all it
yeah.
needed to be. But like, Capcom esports, what do they even have outside of Street Fighter, which is like, I don't know where that community stands on it, but it doesn't seem like to be the hottest thing after all these years.
Yeah. I don't know. I just
Did
found
you guys see that like a Capcom leaked game list?
Oh, from the hacks a while back.
Yeah. So like I was kind of like basing some of the things that they were going to announce based off this instead of what you guys like what we saw today.
Yeah, no, I mean 100%. And it's one of those things where I was gonna say that, where you can't tell me that they don't have games in development that are for sure coming, right? And
Yeah.
I know oftentimes I'm a big proponent of show don't tell, But in this case, with the presentation as weak as this one was, if you had just dropped the name of a sequel in the next big franchise, right? The next Monster Hunter World 2, you know? Or even if you had a little screen at the end that said the next iteration in the Hunter World franchise is coming, right? Even that would have generated more hype and would have tied this together better. I just think that the way they ended on something that was already kind of missing big pops was so weird. It's just so strange. I'm not even gonna ask you guys what you're excited about from Capcom because it's pretty much out already or coming out soon. So
Street Fighter 6 coming out in 2023.
yeah, right.
Hell
Uh,
yeah.
all right. So man, this is a super long episode.
Yeah, no, it's 79 degrees in this room, and it's been that way for like the last hour. So
right, look,
I am sweating.
Jeez.
All right, we're just gonna.
I sweat for my art.
All right, I'm gonna just pump through these. We'll talk about them afterwards. The ones you guys are actually excited about. Okay. Just to
Okay.
get through this. So the Nintendo Direct was a very well done, very solid presentation. It was, what was it, 40, 45 minutes long. And it was in the style. I mean, they're the first ones to kind of do these digital presentations and do them right. And they kind of set the blueprint for everybody else, which is why it's so crazy that so many of these companies are failing at this. You look at Nintendo Directs, you look at Sony's State of Plays, and the way Microsoft does their presentations, and it really is like game after game after game after game after game, and that's the way it should be. And this started off by announcing that Kazuya from the Tekken franchise is going to be the next fighter in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. They also poked a little bit of fun at it by showing him throwing people into a volcano over and over and over again. I thought, don't get me wrong,
The opening for this trailer was great, just because it was him carrying Ganondorf, and everyone's like, "Wait, what's going on? Is it Breath of the Wild?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't play Smash Brothers as much anymore, mostly because I think that their online system is trash, and the fact that there's no party chat makes it so that I don't want to go through the hassle of trying to figure out how me and my friends communicate while we play these games. So the Switch tends to be kind of an offline system for me. But I'm excited for whoever's still playing that game. They announced that the Life is Strange Remastered Collection and Life is Strange 2 Colors are coming to the Switch. They also announced that Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, which we talked about during Square Enix's, is coming to Nintendo Switch. However, it appears that the version that's coming to the Switch is the cloud version, the streaming version. So the Switch has dipped in cloud versions of games in the past, mostly in Japan. But it looks like they're doing that here too in the States with this next version, and we're not actually getting the full-on local version, which I thought was, an interesting choice. Astria Ascending launching on September 30th, a turn-based JRPG. Then they also showed off 2 Point Campus, which, like I said, appeared like 4 or 5 times throughout E3. I mean, good for them. I hope that game blows up considering how many different presentations it's been in. Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania was shown off. It's a remake of Super Monkey Ball 2, and Super Monkey Ball Deluxe. And that's going to launch on October 5th. Mario Party Superstars, which is a collection of beloved Mario Party boards based on the N64 releases. Now, there was already a game released fairly recently, Mario Party game released fairly recently on the 3DS,
yeah.
right? And so this is basically that, except that one was just the mini games and didn't have the boards. This one actually adds the boards, which, I mean, come on, that's common sense. And so that game launches on October 29th, 2021. This one also will support online, just like they added into the most recent Mario Party on the Switch as well. And so it seems like that was kind of a test bed to see what they're going to do with this one. And so I think that just makes, as much as I don't like the online system, I think if they are going to do online stuff, Mario Party makes a ton of sense. They showed off Metroid Dread, which is the latest entry in the mainline 2D Metroid franchise. That game releases October 8th, 2021. I think this is going to be one of the games we actually talk about after, because I have some words on it. They showed off Just Dance 2022. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot's coming. They showed off some more of Mario Golf Super Rush. That launches on June 25th. It showed off Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin. Oh, another kind of surprise announcement was they announced a new WarioWare game, WarioWare Get It Together, and that is going to support and introduce 2-player co-op. And that is launching in the near future, they said. And then they showed off Shin Megami Tensei 5. I think, Bilal, you and I talked about
Hell
this before.
yeah.
That we expected that to be there.
That looks
That is
great.
coming out exclusively on Nintendo Switch on November 12th. They also showed off Danganronpa Decadence, 3 games from the Danganronpa franchise. That would be Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc, Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair, and Danganronpa 3 V3 Killing Harmony coming to Nintendo Switch. That launches later this year in 2021. Now, I believe this is the one where they are all launching as a package, Danganronpa Decadence,
Yeah.
but you could also buy them individually.
That's good because I'm near the end of that first one on the Vita. I just need to wrap that up.
They announced Fatal Frame Made in a Blackwater, port of the Wii U exclusive. That launches later this year. Doom Eternal DLC is coming to the Switch. That launches on June 15th. The Strange Brigade is coming to the Switch. That launches on June 15th. I've actually played this. Have anybody else played this before? This has been out on other platforms before. This is like a co-op. Imagine almost like a Left 4 Dead-esque game, except it's third person and it is like a 1930s adventure, like Indiana Jones type setting. And so, I mean, there is some fun to be had there, but again, this is an older game getting a Switch port. They showed off some more of Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope. That launches next year. They showed off that they are remastering both Advance Wars and Advance Wars 2 for the Nintendo Switch. It's going to be known as Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. That is, again, one of the ones I think we'll talk about. They showed off Expansion Pass for Hyrule Warriors. Showed off more Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD. They showed off this Legend of Zelda Game & Watch system.
Did any of you pick up that Mario one?
No.
Okay.
It's one of those things where, like, there's a lot of these type of things where I think it would be cool to own, but I know I'm never going to play it.
It'll sit in a drawer.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they showed off some footage of Breath of the Wild. Well, I shouldn't call it Breath of the Wild 2. Of the sequel to Breath of the Wild. They came out afterwards and said in an interview that they actually do have a title for the next one, but the title itself gives a little bit too much away about what the game is going to be
Or what the
and
players
kinda
will be
the next-
doing. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that game is going to launch in 2022. So we're not seeing that. I mean, you know, if they say that game is they're planning on launching in 2022, that means they're planning on launching at the end of 2022. So I want to hold my breath on this one, which is fine because this game is an important game for them and should be done. The footage they showed off looked fantastic.
Yeah.
Like I said, top to bottom, I thought it was really solid. I didn't think that there was a ton of like super get hype moments for me. Honestly, the one that I was most excited for was that WarioWare game that's coming. Now, I actually love that franchise. I loved it on the one that was on the DS, and I think that, especially since I have kids and I've got a 7-year-old, I think that's something that could be a lot of fun to kind of play with her and kind of write up her sense of humor and stuff like that. I mean, what do you guys want to talk about? I mean, we have to talk about the Metroid Dread, right?
Yes.
What did you guys think seeing this trailer?
So, Race, go ahead.
No, I think it was Ellie. Ellie, you can go.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
go ahead.
Well, I was seeing that they like this was like a fabled game for like 19 years that people knew back then in like when was it like 2002 that there was going to be a new Metroid 2D game called Metroid Dread, and people had been like kind of talking about it for since then, since like 2002.
Yeah.
So
In
that's kind of like the juice on it.
Yeah, in 05, it first appeared on an internal Nintendo software list. In 06, it appeared with a release date in official Nintendo magazine. There was even a reference to it in Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, and then it just dropped off the face of the world. In 08, I believe they said they were no longer It was no longer in like development. No, in 2010 they confirmed that it was they're starting from scratch if they were ever to return from it into it. And so they actually put like the 5, was it Metroid 5 they put?
So
yeah.
so that's when the video started up, it said Metroid 5 to open up and then drop the Metroid Dread name towards the end. I will say what I find interesting about this one is the tone of it seems to be more horror, and the actual enemy kind of reminds me of something you would see in Resident Evil from Nemesis or Tyrant, where at some points you won't be able to deal with it early on and it will be just chasing you around, and running is your best option.
Yeah, they did show a lot of it. I don't know if you watched the Treehouse stream after, but they showed quite a bit of this game. It seems like you can get like this powered up charge beam to kill like one of those things that are chasing you. They like open up a pathway, but it's pretty much limited until you like get that. Like it's like a one-time use type deal.
Right. Yeah. And so no, I mean, I'm excited. I like Metroidvanias, and if this one plays well, I will say that I think the art style is kind of boring, especially considering what we've gotten recently out of this genre.
I think it works better in like on a 3DS or a DS or a Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
Like the Fusion looks fantastic, but like I think when you like it's kind of plain for the space aesthetic.
Right. No, there's something about
Yeah.
I think it's something about how clean all the edges are, and it does. I don't know. It kind of looks boring and empty, honestly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of indie games with a lot more atmosphere than
Yeah.
this game. You know, like even when you look at
Yeah.
Hollow Knight, right? Like
Yeah.
you can't. It's Hollow Knight's an indie game, and it just looks like there's significantly better
Spewing
understanding of like
atmosphere.
of characters and lighting and environment and everything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
this game kind of feels like it lacks an identity, actually, is what the art style reminds me of. It just kind
Yeah.
of feels like the most corporate art style you could go with.
Do you
And
anemic.
Yeah.
do you remember Bloodstained when they put out that first demo for it? And
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
tore it apart for
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
bad the art looked. Like
Oh, yeah.
that's kind of the vibe I'm getting off of this. But the gameplay here looks great. Like I could see myself enjoying my time with this, but I 100% agree with you guys on the art.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, gameplay is king. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I will give this game a shot and play it, see how it does, and excuse the art style. Maybe it's one of those things that grows on you, right? But that being said, I do think that was a pretty nice surprise, and the fact that it comes out this year. I mean, it has to, with an announcement like this, considering how long people have been waiting for an update on Metroid Prime 4. It kind of had to come out quickly, right? You can't.
Could you imagine they announced it for like 2022 and then like you get to next year and you don't hear about it?
Yeah, right. No, I mean, if this wasn't coming out like this year, then Metroid, if they were like this comes out in 2022, then Metroid Prime 4 doesn't exist. Like, I don't care what anybody says, it just does not exist.
Yeah.
The other big surprise, I already talked about WarioWare. It seems like I'm the one that's most excited about that.
So I played it on GameCube, I want to say, and
Yeah.
maybe I don't get it, but they're like micro mini games.
Yeah, they're like micro games. It's like 2-second mini games, and it's really just about responding as fast as possible, and they're just silly. I mean, it's not like, yeah, you can see the trailer right here.
Yeah.
Like it's really simple controls, and it's one of those things, and they speed up too. So what it is, it's kind of like Mario Party, except condensed and sped up, you know? And so you get the kind of this
Mario Party on speed.
They're like brain teasers. They're meant to be just like, here's a situation, you have 4 seconds to figure out exactly where you are and to figure out how to solve it too.
Yep. And so
they announced a co-op mode for it too.
Yeah. I'm gonna dominate and embarrass my daughter in this. It's gonna be great. So the other thing that we should talk about, and I think the thing that people are really excited about that I just have no nostalgia for and could not care less, is this Advance Wars remake.
Mm.
You crazy.
I just don't have the nostalgia for it.
So
I think I played one of them, And I like these type of games actually normally. My problem though is that because I don't have the nostalgia for this art style is trash.
It is.
It
Yeah,
is
it is.
like
The
I
original's a
agree.
lot better.
Yeah.
this is like Playmobil.
I was
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
100%
It
pretty
is.
is.
bummed.
Yeah,
Straight up.
I don't know
Yeah.
why they didn't keep it like the original. Like you're right. It is like I love the gameplay, but the new look and feel here, it wasn't needed. You could have kept the pixelatedness of the Game Boy Advance. The games were solid as is. I mean, depending on how this reviews and if there's anything new added or whatnot, um, I might just end up replaying 1 and 2 on the analog pocket when that releases later this year.
I yeah, I have no idea what they were thinking with this art style, especially because, like you said, the original art style today looks significantly better than whatever this is.
You know what this is? You know how they
You could have just ported it without doing anything to it. I bet you, and it would have been a better experience.
you know like how they redid that first Pokemon movie, but they made it all 3D.
Yeah, I
Oh
do
yes,
remember that.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's like that's what they did, and like it, and it's just like sure, maybe kids today might like that, but the old art style is still the best.
Yeah, no.
It's frustrating. Yeah, like I might just end up picking this up because I love Advance Wars and it's the perfect on the go game. But yeah, this launches December 3rd. Let's see. But like, I feel like there's a lot coming out at the end of this year, and maybe I don't need to pick this up.
Yeah, but I mean, that being said, also, the one thing that can't be understated is the fact that the Switch, besides being a home console, is the only handheld in the game right now. You know, I mean, you can,
Yeah.
I guess, mobile is when you play
Yeah.
all the Final Fantasy pixel remasters on it on your cell phone. But the fact that you could play this on a flight and the world is getting back to normal, so we are
Yeah.
going to be flying more, hopefully. And so, yeah, there's a ton coming out this holiday, but this could still find an audience. I mean, this
Yeah,
art style is so bad.
it
It's
is.
so bad.
It's funny. You said
I keep
like
staring at this trailer and
this is a Treehouse stream. So this is where they're
oh,
playing
okay.
that. I figured to show more of the actual gameplay. It's funny, like you said, on a plane, but like when I go to my in-laws, I don't even grab my Switch anymore. I grab the backbone because I can just stream my
Yeah.
consoles.
Yeah.
It's really weird. Like I had Dragon Quest 11 on the Switch, but I ended up playing it on Xbox and PC and streamed it when I was out of the house because the visual quality was a lot better. Like I know we didn't get the Switch Pro this year, but I would like better graphics out of that Switch.
All right, so what was your final most anticipated or biggest surprise out of the Nintendo conference? Bilal?
Oof, can we not start with me? I just need
Yeah,
to.
sure. Like I said, WarioWare is the one I'm most excited about, and the biggest surprise for me would be that Metroid Dread trailer. The fact that it's coming out so soon, which is a trend that I am more than happy with. Like Guardians of the Galaxy doing that, Forza doing that, and Metroid Dread doing that. Just being like, hey, this is the first time we're showing it, and it comes out this year when I didn't expect it. Like more of that would be fantastic. Uh, what about you, Ali? Anything out of this speak to you?
Hands down. I'm not even kidding. Mario Golf. I will host all of you guys. You will. I think I see the vision 1,000,000% when they decide to make this game. I played Mario Golf 64 like a stupid amount of times, and this just like I can tell how much of a fun ass party game this is going to be.
Oh,
Um, I- yeah.
I was gonna say, Rob and I have already been talking about how we're gonna set up a stream for Mario Golf.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, if you guys are down, we can do a 4-person stream
Oh,
of just like
I'm
speed
in.
golf,
I'm
battle
in.
golf, and like,
If we're doing that, we're doing side bets. I'm talking. We're doing
Yeah.
a dollar a hole.
no, but
Speed
Done.
golf only.
this is the wrong
Speed
one.
golf only.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the other game that I don't know if you got to talk about is Astria Ascending. Did you see that? Scrolling down. So that
Uh,
technically is a Square Enix game.
is it?
It's made by like Final Fantasy staff and everything like that. So this trailer isn't that good. There's another trailer that came out a couple months ago, and there is something to this game that's a little bit, Odin Sphere.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
they did that.
it's
Oh, what was the other one from that studio?
Yeah, the
Dragon
one-
Crown?
Valhalla or something.
Was it Dragon Crown?
Dragon
it's Dragon
Crown. Yeah,
Crown.
yeah,
Yeah,
Dragon,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So this is kind of reminds me of that a little bit. Plus, it has like that kind of like Ivalice feel.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. So you have these Final Fantasy alumni making this
12,
game
yeah.
that's like it's like turn-based, but it also has like the side scroller thing to it too. So I think this is like a weird game that might be awesome, right? And there actually is characters in this compared to like Final Fantasy Origins. So I think this is something that I'm going to pay attention to. End of September, I think that's when it's coming out. And the last game that I really want to see on Nintendo that wasn't here was Triangle Strategy, which I'm like dying to see more of because I don't know if you guys have heard of that game. It came
Yeah.
out, they announced it with like a demo in like February, right? So that's
Yeah.
oh man, I can't wait for that. And I know that's going to be another game.
That's the new
Same thing.
Tactics one
Yeah.
from the Octopath studio, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That one I think I'm hoping we hear about it next year. I think it's still a bit early, but like I think they
Yeah.
did the same thing with maybe they did the same thing with Octopath where they released it a demo early, got feedback, and then refined.
Yeah.
I just hope they concentrate on story this time because one of my biggest criticisms with Octopath Traveler was they did 8 separate stories, none of it interconnected, and it was just like you had to play through everybody to get back to that one character to get to the second part of their story. And like I ended up dropping it. It had a fantastic battle system, but the story was not enough to carry me through. And that's what I want out of RPG, a solid story.
Race, what about you? What are you most looking forward to out of Nintendo?
This is tough. This one's like kind of all over the place, but I think Shin Megami Tensei I'm most excited for. I've never played any of the series, but it almost seems like a reskinned Persona in some ways of like capturing and negotiating with like the enemy and things like that.
Persona's a reskinned Shin Megami.
Yeah, the Persona's a spin-off of
Okay.
Shin Megami.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't have that history, so
Yeah.
forgive me. But
No, you're fine.
But I am curious to it. Like people love this series, so like I kind of want to get the understanding of what's up here, and so I'm pretty excited to give it a shot. Like I know I'll give it the shot that it deserves. And then also stupidly excited for Mario Golf as well because I want to play a speed golf with like 4 people in the house screaming at one another.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you're definitely coming over, or I'm definitely coming
Right.
over there, and it's
That's
definitely gonna happen.
And that has online,
and
right?
and Metroid.
Yeah, I believe it does.
What does I feel like Nintendo? Sure, but it's
Yeah.
Nintendo Online.
Right.
Just to quickly touch
and-
upon the
Yeah.
Mario Golf stuff. Like I know we knew about speed golf, but I think like the battle golf stuff was new. Which
That looked really cool, too.
Which looked really fun. Like you putt across battlefield and get 3 flags before anybody else, and then the golf adventure, which sounds like it's right up my alley with RPG elements.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it
a
looks
lot.
it looks awesome. I think everything about this game is gonna hit.
Yeah.
It like gives me
absolutely.
old Mario Tennis vibes where there's like the adventure mode, there's like the crazy arcadey parts of it, and like I don't know. I think it's gonna be super well done. So let's do it.
And that's how many days? Next week?
9 days.
9 days.
9 days.
10 days, 9 days.
I think this is Camelot, right? Camelot Software. Camelot Software does like all the random Nintendo sports games, and they also made. Have you guys ever heard of this game called Shining Force?
Yes, that's a throwback.
Shining Force 2 is like my favorite game of all time. Of like all time, number 1. And so like I follow Camelot, and on top of that, like I'm seeing all the turn-based strategy stuff get a resurgence because of Fire Emblem. And I'm just like Camelot, like I'm just gonna give you money. Just please make Shining Force 4 because that's the game that I've been waiting for like 25 years to play.
Well, it's funny. Like I just pulled up their wiki of developed games. It's like Shining Force, and then it slowly turns
Yeah.
into Mario Golf, Mario
Yeah,
Tennis,
yeah,
Mario
yeah,
Golf, Golden Sun.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Get them to do another
they did
Golden
Sun
Sun.
too. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I would die for another Golden.
God, they've done so many Mario Tennis and golf games.
If I recall, I think this Mario Golf is them just being. I don't know where I read this, but I read somewhere where they're just like, okay, we're doing Mario Golf, and then we're gonna go back to like other shit. I think that's a rumor that I heard. But if that's the case, then yeah, then you can start thinking about Golden Sun again, and hopefully Shining Force because oh my god, there's a lot I would do for a new Shining Force game.
I would do. Yeah, I would love another Golden Sun. Those games were
Yeah.
fantastic. So do RPGs again, Camelot.
All right, so Bilal, you've had enough time.
Okay.
What is-
So as Race said earlier, Shin Megami Tensei 5 for sure because darker post-apocalyptic Persona. Why not? Breath of the Wild looks great. I think Fatal Frame has always been a fun franchise for the scares, going around taking photographs of ghosts. I do believe this is not only a Switch game. I think this is also coming to Xbox and PlayStation. So maybe it won't play this one on the Switch, but definitely check it out on with better graphics somewhere else. But yeah, Metroid Dread was right up there. Skyward Sword, I'm excited to play for the first time at the end of the day. And that sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild looks good. They seem to be expanding a lot with Age of Calamity with that DLC, but that's a game that does not run well, Hyrule Warriors. So as much as I would like to get more lore for Breath of the Wild, I don't know if I want to sit through all that. Other than that, I think the one that will be played the most in my household is Mario Party Superstars.
I love that you say other than that, and you've listed like half
I
the
know.
lineup. That's
Hey, I'm excited for Nintendo.
yeah.
Yeah, but like we played a shitload of Super Mario Party when it came out on the Switch, and like those maps got old. There was no dual system. The stars cost too little, and they finally added online play like a few months ago. So I think probably this game's the reason they did that. But like a lot of these mini games, like Race had an N64, him and his brother, and we would play the Mario Party 2 or 3, I forgot which one it was. And those mini games were great. The boards were great, and like a lot of the features that were there were a lot of fun. And so I'm just excited for like a better Mario Party with online play.
I love that you can tell that Bilal was too focused on producing the show to actually listen to what I was saying while I was talking about Mario Party. And when I said exactly that they just added that online multiplayer to the last release and how that was a test bed for this one, and then he comes out and repeats the exact same thing
Listen,
as if he came up with it.
listen. It's hard multitasking.
Yeah, no worries. Hey, listen.
It's 80 degrees.
I can't eat these Twizzlers and listen to you talk at the same time, so I can't imagine trying to run this show.
Yeah.
All right, so ready to wrap all this up?
Yeah.
Right now.
Can I just give one shout out? Shout out to CBR, Comic Book Resources, for putting together articles that compiled all like the list of like what happened in all the shows in chronological order. You would think it'd be more readily available. It's not. So thank you, CBR.
Yeah, definitely. We relied on that as a resource for this podcast. So that being said, I need everybody's top 3 from E3 that we've discussed.
Oh God.
All right.
You couldn't tell us this before we started.
No, come on, just go with the gut right now. If I said, hey, you could have these 3 games tomorrow, what would they be?
Halo.
For me, I'll just go. I'll tell you right now. Give me Halo, give me Redfall, give me Riders Republic. Give me those 3 right now. That's what my gut says. You know,
Wow.
and I don't even think those are necessarily the 3 best games. You know, obviously because we haven't seen anything out of Redfall. But if you said I could play these games tomorrow, those are the 3 I want.
I want Halo. I want Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah.
And I want Starfield. Even though we don't know much about it, I just like the look and feel and how it made me feel. So I love space exploration, so that one just feels right up my alley.
All right, Race, what about you?
Elden Ring.
Oh, God
I was
damn
gonna
it.
say, bro. You
God damn
paused
it.
on that
Yeah,
third
I was
one.
like, you fools.
Yeah.
Number 2 will be Elden Ring, and number 3 will be Elden Ring. No, number 2 would be Replaced. Again, like, yeah, I don't know. That for some reason that trailer hit. So that's number 2, and number 3 is so tough. But I'm gonna go Riders Republic just because like I need something crazy and fun, and also like an extreme sports game because it's I don't know when the hell Skate 4 will ever come out, but EA has their conference thingy way late, so maybe then. But who knows?
I would like to replace Shin Megami Tensei with Elden Ring, if that's allowed.
Yeah, fine.
No,
that's
too
allowed.
late,
I
Bilal.
mean,
Yeah.
listen, it wasn't your gut. So is that really what you want?
Listen,
Like,
my brain's melting. This is the longest podcast we've ever done.
yeah.
By half.
All right, I'll be quick. Elden Ring, obviously, just like it has to be Elden Ring. 2, replaced, same reasons. It's just like I gotta see how one of these games finally play. And then 3, Astria Ascending. I want to know if it like something. Some part of me says it's going to be an amazing game, and it's just kind of like sleeping under these. It's a sleeper hit for sure, but I just want to know what this game is going to be like because it seems like a passion project by X Final Fantasy. So we'll get Psychonauts soon enough. I don't got to put that on.
Yeah. No. And I mean, that game definitely looks cool. Someone mentioned, Bilal had mentioned that they had done Dragon's Crown, and that's exactly what like that art style reminds me of is Dragon's Crown. Obviously, Dragon's Crown is also infamous for having certain character models being out of control. But
I mean, it's in this trailer as well. Like,
It's
is
it.
it?
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that. Oh,
It's
okay,
not the
well,
same studio. It's just like
right, it's
similarly
similar.
themed.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
That's what
yeah.
I meant. That's what I meant. He mentioned it looking and having that art style of Dragon's Crown. That's what it reminded me of. So I think the art looks great, and honestly, great art gets me already in the door.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
great art.
I'm not watching. I'm not watching this stream. Okay, yeah, that's okay. Fine. All right.
There
That's
you
still
go.
not as bad. That's still not as bad as
Yeah.
Dragon's Crown.
Right,
Dragon's Crown was
right.
insane.
Also, Aiden Chronicle. I just need to play that game.
Yes, 2023.
Yeah.
You know, I think like coming out of this E3, I realized maybe I should have waited another year or two before having a kid. but there's always gonna be more games. Yeah, Rob, I don't know how you did it when your kids were born, but it's gonna. I don't know how I'm gonna fit video games into my life.
You'll figure it out the same
Yeah.
way you figure out how to care for a living being. You figure it out. So
Got it.
don't stress too much about that.
No
And
big deal.
that about wraps it up for this insanely long episode
Yeah.
of the Work Prince Gamescast. Thank you guys so much for being on and sitting and talking with me for. I can't believe that counter says over 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bilal,
I'm gonna bed.
yeah, Bilal, where can people follow you and find you?
Yeah, you can follow me at Bilal_Mia on Twitter, Night Mystic over at Twitch. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Also, you can follow the Work Print at the Work
Yeah,
Print.
I'll do that at the
across all
end.
social medias. Yeah. Race, where can people follow you?
You can follow me at race.png on Instagram and race_png on Twitter.
You can follow me at SunnyVice20, SUNNYVICE20, Instagram, Twitter, pretty much everywhere, and my Twitch channel. And then Ali, as a guest, you get final plug. Where can people follow you and keep in touch with what you're doing?
I want to plug Race's TikTok because I don't know why he didn't mention that. He doesn't like to talk about it, but he's TikTok famous for all his illustrations. I'm a photographer, but you can follow me on Instagram. Yeah, okay, Ali. I don't do too much publishing anymore, so I would like to reiterate, follow Race on TikTok.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Race, what is your TikTok?
It's been a minute. I think it's the same. It's race.png, RAIS.png. It's been quite a while since I posted, but Maybe soon.
It's just him doing shirtless dances.
I think that might be the
I
catalyst.
can't get
maybe.
enough.
Yeah.
No, it's actually him doing a bunch of anime drawings, and everybody always talks about his line work and his pens and markers, and I'm like, God damn, it's so clean.
Better than the official stuff that you see.
All right, Rob.
Thank you.
And I think finally, you guys can always follow the Workprint at the Workprint on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook. Christian and Nicole just did a podcast called on Trez. I think it's what it's called. Philippines-based anime. Both of them are Filipino, so they gave their thoughts on that. And then we got coverage of Loki also on the website, so definitely check that out.
Yeah, and make sure to have your notifications on for this channel, where besides doing this podcast, Bilal and I are working out to kind of stream some more, and I'll be appearing on this channel, actually doing game streaming more often like I did last night, and seeing if we can get a couple more people kind of in and out, and so that we can hopefully have somewhat regular content, and it's just not a once a week thing as far as this stream is going up. And this channel lighting up, especially since it looks like we're actually going to hit that affiliate status this month, and so then the road to partnership begins right after that. But once again, thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you for the people watching and hanging out for as long as you have. I'm so impressed and grateful for you guys. And until next time, bye-bye.
I'm here to kill chaos.